I opened a travel agency in the world of cultivation. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51, Treatment. After hearing this, Yang Zhao heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that there was no serious injury. Only then did she have the mood to pay attention to the tall man who had just entered. It can only be said that he brought glory to the humble house. When he came to this woodshed, the whole woodshed had a magnificent feeling. Seeing this high-end ornament, Yang Zhao's hands began to itch. She really wanted to record a video and post it online. How many fans would this video gain by then? Speaking of shooting videos, her mobile phone should be fine, right? In the past, she didn't change her mobile phone for 2 or 3 years. Now her mobile phone can't survive more than 2 months. I'm Zhongsheng. Thank you Miss Yang Zhao for saving my nephew's life. Zhongsheng turned around and saluted Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao was very embarrassed and waved her hands to refuse. You are really praising me. I should thank your nephew. If it weren't for Brother Leopard who took me to escape, I might have been stuck outside. Zhongsheng's attitude was very gentle, with a kind smile on his face. That's not what I said. If it weren't for you, the two of them would have been buried in there. This life-saving grace is not false. This stupid leopard finally got smart at the critical moment and knew to ask you for help. Thanks to you for taking him, a comatose person. This is a mutual benefit. We work together to escape. Yang Zhao was almost out of words. She was really not good at dealing with such enthusiastic elders. Although the elders didn't look old, their accents were very old. Zhongsheng also saw her embarrassment, smiled and comforted her a few words, and went out, leaving the small lighting spell in the woodshed. Yang Zhao could vaguely hear that he went into another room and visited other people. Seeing that the two had finished their conversation, the doctor took out a small milky white disc inlaid with gems from the medicine box. It was about the size of a palm. Miss Yang Zhao, please lie down. I will help you clear the remaining blood. Yang Zhao lay upright, staring at the magic weapon in his hand curiously, waiting for him to cast a spell. The doctor touched the gem on the disc, and the whole disc floated into the air, spinning around, and sprinkled a milky white light. Yang Zhao only felt warm and numb on her body. It was a little itchy, but not to the point of being unbearable. While she was lying and receiving treatment, she was thinking wildly in her mind. If she could buy such a magic weapon, it should be very valuable to sell it back home, right? At least those who practice sports must need it very much. Those who play football and figure skaters should be willing to pay for it. Yang Zhao was still daydreaming here, and the doctor reminded her, Miss, turn over, I will treat your back. She turned herself over like a pancake, and this time she enjoyed a tingling massage on her back. She lay there and couldn't help asking, Doctor, what is the name of your magic weapon? It is so effective. It must be very expensive. This thing is indeed not cheap, and it is specially customized. Many of the materials are provided by myself, so I really haven't asked what the market price is. Yang Zhao understood that the doctor was taking care of her feelings and didn't want to hit her financially. After the doctor finished the treatment, he put away the magic weapon and prepared to leave. Yang Zhao was puzzled when he saw him act like this and pointed at the boy lying on the bed next to him. Doctor, why don't you treat him? He's still unconscious. The doctor shook his head firmly and said, I can't treat his illness. Yang Zhao, then you should at least treat his external injuries. You see his face is disfigured, and there are a lot of bruises on his body. Doctor, in his current state, it's best not to come into contact with the spiritual power of outsiders, even for the treatment of external injuries. Miss, don't worry, we will take care of it. Yang Zhao, if he can't do it, what about Brother Leopard? You should treat Brother Leopard as well. He has been loyal to his master today. Brother Leopard was her real savior, but the boy was Brother Leopard's master, and there was no way to bypass him and take Brother Leopard out alone. The doctor thought what she said made sense, so he walked to the big leopard with the medicine box and checked its injuries in detail. You have violated the prohibition of overdrawing your blood, and your main meridians have been broken by too much spiritual power. I will give you a pill to stabilize your meridians. In the next 2 or 3 years, you must take good care of them, otherwise this meridian will affect you for the rest of your life. The other injuries are just superficial injuries, not worth mentioning." The big leopard nodded. The doctor took out a small medicine bottle from his arms, carefully poured out a pill from it, and stuffed it into the big leopard's mouth. Then he lifted the big leopard's front legs, and helped it straighten its bones and bandage it. As for the injuries on its body, he simply ignored them. Yang Zhao looked at him distressedly. "Doctor, can you use your healing magic weapon on leopard? He was badly injured." The doctor smiled. "Little girl, it's not that I'm stingy and don't want to use it, but this injury is harmless to him. As long as he eats 2 good meals, he will be fine in 2 days. His meridians are damaged now, so it's better not to let outsiders input spiritual power." Yang Zhao felt a little embarrassed after hearing these words. After all, this doctor is a professional, at least much more professional than himself. "Thank you, doctor, I misunderstood you." The doctor packed up his medicine box and left the woodshed. Hearing the noise, he also went to another room to treat people. Yang Zhao sat up from the bed and felt that her injuries were indeed more than half healed, and the bruises on her body faded. Although the abrasions mixed with the medicine looked a little serious, in fact, except for a little pain, it did not affect her movements. She asked the boy outside to bring some food for her and leopard. When the waiter came in with the food, Yang Zhao stopped him to gossip. "Hey, little brother, are there many injured people in this hotel? I remember we are the only ones." The waiters looked outside and saw that no one saw him, so they squatted down and gossiped with people with great interest. "Hey, at the beginning it was indeed just you, but then more people came in one after another, and they were all seriously injured. There were about a dozen of them, and they looked like they were wealthy people. They relied on their spirit pets, elixirs, and magic weapons to get out of the meteor shower. Their injuries were not light." Yang Zhao was cheering on the side, with an interesting look on his face. The waiter also said something interesting, and continued to talk outside. "Among them, there are 3 people, who are also like this young master." As he said that, he glanced at the unconscious boy next to him like a thief. "They are all unconscious. 2 of them got through with the help of their spirit pets. The magic weapon of another one was controlled by an elder in his family. They escorted him out from 1,000 miles away. It seems that they are all from wealthy families." Chapter 52. Gossip. Yang Zhao nodded in agreement while listening to the gossip. Now that he has no money, he is embarrassed to say that he is a child of a wealthy family. Seeing her flattering him, the waiter wanted to speak even more. "Is the gentleman who just came here a relative of the one in your room?" Yang Zhao, he is his uncle. I think he looks quite young. The second brother pretended to despise her for not having seen the world, and waved his hand. "Oh, how can you judge the age of a cultivator by his appearance? It is not accurate. It is not accurate. Let me put it this way. The gentleman just now actually visited all the injured in the store, and promised that, before leaving the island, all those who were innocently injured, or lost their lives, because of this meteor shower would receive compensation. This is something that only the government can do. He is definitely a big shot." Yang Zhao was shocked. "Second brother, how did you know this?" "Of course, the gentleman asked our shopkeeper to write a notice and posted it on the wall of the official meteorite exchange point." The waiter stretched out his hand and pointed outside. The 2 were talking excitedly when they heard someone outside calling for someone. "Where are the people? The yard is so busy. Who is still slacking off?" It was the shopkeeper's voice. The young man shrank his neck in fear, nodded to Yang Zhao apologetically, and ran out with his head poked, standing in front of the shopkeeper with a smile. "Shopkeeper, the guest wanted to eat something, so I brought it to her. The guest was bored, so she asked me to chat with her for a while. It didn't take long." The shopkeeper obviously knew what kind of person he was, and sneered. "Don't I know who you are? You can't stop talking. Why don't you become a storyteller?" "I'm not educated." The 2 walked away slowly, and Yang Zhao couldn't hear the rest of the words. Through chatting with the waiter, she basically confirmed 3 things. First, this meteor shower was not planned in advance, and someone should have deliberately made trouble on the island. Second, many people on the island were injured and killed because of this incident, forcing the government to deal with the next matter. Third, this meteor shower should have something to do with these children of wealthy families who are still unconscious. Otherwise, it is too coincidental. How could there be 4 patients with the same illness in such a small market? Yang Zhao subconsciously looked at the boy's clenched left hand again. It seems that the secret is a bit bloody. She quickly finished her meal and saw that the big leopard had finished eating the fish long ago. She called the waiter to come and to pack up. This time it was another one who came back. He didn't dare to chat with her. After packing up, he left politely. Looking at the dark sky outside, Yang Zhao got into bed and fell asleep again. After this day, she was too tired both mentally and physically. The next day, the sky was bright and Yang Zhao woke up. She only heard the hustle and bustle outside. It sounded like there were a lot of people. Yang Zhao got up and went out to watch. He found that there were many more injured people in the yard. The injuries were serious and minor. They were generally depressed. Obviously, they were hit hard by the meteor shower. The poor-mouthed young man came over secretly to gossip with her. This time, the government paid for the uninjured people hiding in the market to search for the injured and dead. There were many injured people here, all of whom were sent by them. This made the injured themselves feel a little lucky. No matter how serious the injury was, there were people willing to save them. Now those who could live in the hotel were still alive. Those who had died were placed under the newly built shed outside. That Zhongsheng must have been very busy. He didn't have time until noon to come and see his nephew. This time he changed into a new moon white dress and asked Yang Zhao about his condition with a gentle face, thanking her for thinking about healing his nephew last night. Yang Zhao was really a little guilty because caring about his nephew was just a byproduct. What she really cared about was Brother Bao. She and Brother Bao were friends of life and death, and his nephew was just a background board. But these words couldn't be said directly in front of the elders, so she could only smile awkwardly. Senior, I'm fine now. I have to go out to search for meteorites later. Do you want to find someone to watch over your nephew? Zhongsheng nodded and said, it's my duty. I will ask someone to watch him. In fact, I neglected you yesterday and even let you live in the woods. I will open a separate room for you. You can go there to rest. Yang Zhao agreed. Who would want to live here if there is a room? It's inconvenient to do anything with a big leopard. Zhongsheng must be really busy. He looked at his nephew carefully for a while and then went out to work without touching the ground. Yang Zhao stretched her hands and feet in the room and felt that she was fine. She packed up her things and put them on her back. She said hello to Brother Leopard and went out to search for meteorites again. Of course, if she met an injured person, she would try her best to send him back. The big leopard obviously didn't want her to go out, but it roared for a long time, and Yang Zhao just pretended not to understand and didn't entangle with it. As soon as she left the hotel, she found that many people were affected by the meteor shower. Even the hemostatic powder sold on the stalls had increased in price. But there was also a good thing. This meteor shower prevented many people from searching for meteorites, and the remaining people could search for more meteorites. She even saw a few people carrying huge meteorites weighing more than 100 kilograms to the market. This phenomenon did not exist during the first meteor shower. At that time, the large and valuable meteorites had already been taken away by others, leaving only some small, broken and worthless people to pick up. Yang Zhao continued to search along the road she was already familiar with. Unfortunately, she was still half a day and a night late. The meteorites on this road had been combed by people, leaving only some small and worthless ones for her. She saw the spring under the hill again. This spring was no longer a small spring. It was hit by a meteorite and a big pit was formed, turning into a muddy ground. But the water source nearby was too far away, so she could only dig downwards with a stick, hoping to dig out a pit of water to fill the bamboo tube. But while digging, she actually dug out a small piece of cloth, and after careful observation, she found that the cloth was actually the one worn by Leopard Brother's master. Yesterday, when she was helping the boy clean his wound, she touched the cloth of the clothes, and now she was very familiar with it. It seems that the boy stayed around this spring when the meteorite landed. To be honest, Leopard Brothers Master basically wandered around this area these days, and also fainted in this area. But what does that have to do with Yang Zhao? She threw the cloth away, and continued to dig downwards with a stick. But this time she seemed to have really dug up something good. Chapter 53, Detention. Yang Zhao poked hard with a stick, and it seemed that a small piece of metal was poked under the stick. She took out the water purification instrument and threw it into the mud pit, and the muddy water suddenly became clear. She used the stick to dig a few times, and a small piece of red metal appeared from the bottom of the mud pit. This should be a man-made product with complicated patterns on it. It's a pity that this small piece should be a fragment of a metal object, and the fracture marks on it are still fresh. Is the fracture mark new? Yang Zhao squatted beside the mud pit and took a closer look. It was indeed a fresh fracture. She looked at the small piece of cloth she threw next to it. She wondered curiously, could this be the same person? Did someone cut off a section of the weapon? No wonder he didn't wake up. After being unconscious for so long, the fight was quite intense. Yang Zhao was amused by her own wild thoughts and picked up the metal fragments and wanted to throw it away. She was from the countryside, and there was a spring at the foot of the nearby mountain. When she was a child, the adults would fetch water from the spring when they went to the fields. So she has a different kind of cleanliness. If there are stones in the spring, it is not dirty. If there is sand in the spring, it is not dirty. But if there are cloth, metal, plastic bottles and other things that do not belong to the spring water, they are very dirty in her eyes. But unexpectedly, as soon as her hand touched the red metal block, she felt her brain was confused, her eyes went black, and she fell down. Yang Zhao felt that someone had locked her in a small dark room. The surroundings were oppressive and closed. It seemed that there was light, but it seemed that there was no light, and she always felt that this place was familiar. By the way, she had fought with monsters here. Yang Zhao just felt that she was a little abnormal now. She had no memory of fighting with monsters at all. How could this idea suddenly come up? Yang Zhao stood in place and turned around. She found a strange shadow hiding next to her. In an instant, her hair stood up. She was most afraid of this kind of thing hiding in the dark. The strange shadow seemed to have discovered that she had been exposed and suddenly rushed over and wrestled with Yang Zhao. Fighting with it feels so familiar. The angle of the attack, the force of the attack, and the cursing behavior while fighting. There is no doubt that they have fought before. Yang Zhao thought about it and showed no mercy. According to her usual fighting ideas, it is better to break one finger than to hurt 10 fingers. She is not as good at fighting as the other party, so she can only attack one place. But she still felt the difference. This strange shadow seemed to have become much weaker. It was not as good as the last time. After a fight, Yang Zhao had suppressed the strange shadow. In the end, the strange shadow simply stopped making any sound and collapsed on the ground. Yang Zhao panted and looked at such a pile of things, feeling a little depressed. She was not familiar with this place either. Where could she throw such a pile of things? Yang Zhao pushed the strange shadow hard with her hand, but there was still no movement, so she ignored it. She began to look around for a way out. This place is not very big, and you can find the boundary. The boundary is still hard to the touch, but she always felt something was wrong. It seemed that the last time they fought, the surroundings were not so bright. She remembered that it was pitch black and the vision was not so good, but now the vision here has obviously improved. She began to look carefully up and down, left and right, and indeed found a place where the light was more concentrated. The weak light seemed to be coming through little by little. Yang Zhao stretched out her hand and pushed hard. It was like a door, so she pushed it open. The light outside was bright. She subconsciously closed her eyes, but she could not feel the brightness decrease. It seemed that closing her eyes was useless. She opened her eyes again, and found that, whether she opened her eyes or closed her eyes, the brightness of the light she felt was no different, and there was no glare. Behind the door seemed to be a long and narrow corridor, but although the corridor was glowing, there was no trace of artificiality, and she could not find the place where the light was glowing. She didn't know if she could get out by walking forward along this corridor, but she knew that she would definitely starve to death if she waited there. Yang Zhao came to the side of the strange shadow, found a thicker branch from him, and broke it off with force. This time, the blow was too heavy, and the strange shadow must have been in great pain, so it jumped up and fought with her again. The result is self-evident. Yang Zhao won, and she took her trophy, the thicker branch, and walked into the corridor. This corridor was long and boring, and it seemed to have no end, which made her wonder for a while whether this was a circular maze. But the exit that suddenly appeared in front of her told her that this corridor had an end. Yang Zhao stood in the corridor and could hear the sound of fighting and talking outside the exit. She quietly approached the exit and lay on the side to secretly listen to what people outside were arguing about. "Senior, why do you keep us all in here? It's been so long, and my elders must have come. We can't do anything to you, and you can't take us down. So why don't you just stop and send us away?" This was a young man's voice, but Yang Zhao sounded familiar, and the voice seemed to be the owner of Brother Leopard. Another middle-aged man sneered and said, "Youngsters, don't be so harsh. Yesterday, there were more than 50 of you who besieged me together. How many are left now? Besides, this is the seat of the clan soul of my clan. How can outsiders come in without my consent?" A little girl's voice came from the side. "You devil, where did you take my sister? Let my sister out. Let her out. Ha 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 ha. Do you really not understand, or are you pretending not to understand? If their souls are gone, they will naturally die. I'll drag them here and see whose body will die first." The boys and girls inside were a little panicked, and they were shouting and cursing. The middle-aged man actually became happier as he listened and proudly told what he had done. "It's so easy to deal with you little brats. Although you are in large numbers and you bully me because I don't have a physical body, you are greedy by nature. I used a little trick to detain your souls. Then guess what I did? I activated the star attracting formation on this island." The young men inside were all furious. A group of people besieged the middle-aged man in a noisy manner. Even Yang Zhao, who was eavesdropping outside, gnashed his teeth in hatred. Is this something a normal person can do? He activated the star attracting formation a day in advance. How many innocent people on the island were going to be killed? The key is that Yang Zhao almost died in the artificial meteor shower yesterday. If Brother Leopard hadn't carried her on his back at the time, and if Brother Leopard hadn't overdrawn his blood power to add a layer of protection for her, she would most likely not see the sun today. Thinking that he had no grudges against him, but was in such a crisis, Yang Zhao was so angry that his teeth were almost broken. Chapter 54, Accident. Yang Zhao quietly stuck her head out and saw what was going on inside. There was a group of people besieging a middle-aged man, and a group of people stood in the distance to watch the excitement. Although there were more people on one side and only one middle-aged man on the other side, the melee between the two sides seemed to be evenly matched. She observed carefully for a while before she discovered the reason. Although the fight between souls sounds very grand, none of them had weapons in their hands, nor did they use any Taoist magic, but were using fists and feet. However, there is a big disadvantage in using fists and feet. Even if there are 100 people besieging one person on both sides, only a few can get close to the middle-aged man. 4 or 5 people rushed up to surround him, and the others couldn't help. Moreover, these boys and girls didn't seem to have much experience in group fights. Even if they rushed up, they didn't know how to cooperate with each other, and they were restrained in the fight. The boys and girls who couldn't get close at the back could only jump and worry on the periphery and just fight verbally. On the other hand, the middle-aged man was much more relaxed. He was obviously the one who was surrounded by fewer people, but he was smiling and fought with ease, as if he was playing with children. As for the quarrel, these little cucumber eggs could not take advantage of him in words. They made him furious and his hands were messed up. Yang Zhao saw a few people sitting cross-legged in the corner, as if they were recovering their strength, but the first thing they said when they opened their eyes was, "I still can't get out this time. It seems that I can only fight him to the end." Hearing what they said, the people on both sides fought more fiercely. Seeing the fierce fight between the two sides, Yang Zhao could only hide there silently. She had some self-knowledge. She was definitely not as good as these boys and girls in boxing and kicking. She went in to make trouble. Yang Zhao hid there and observed left and right and found that this space was very different from the place she came out. This place was very large and high. There seemed to be some murals of figures carved on the walls. The murals emitted a faint light. Yang Zhao looked carefully, and the murals seemed to be alive and moved. Yang Zhao. She took a step back in fear. Did she see a ghost? The middle-aged man also noticed the movement here, and suddenly turned his head to meet Yang Zhao's eyes. Who are you, youngster, peeking outside? Get out of here. He fainted and withdrew from the encirclement, his eyes fixed on her. The besiegers also retreated behind the master of Brother Leopard. It seemed that this team respected him. At this moment, the eyes of both sides shifted to Yang Zhao. She was suddenly stared at by so many people, and she felt a little dumbfounded, but she did not dare to run, and took a small step outside. The middle-aged man looked at Yang Zhao and said disdainfully, I didn't expect that. I also captured a little tree demon. You are a tree demon, and your whole family are tree demons. There must be something wrong with this man's eyes. He can't tell whether it is a human or a demon. Yang Zhao was cursing in his heart, and suddenly turned his eyes back to himself. As mentioned before, neither side of the fight had weapons, but she was different. She was holding a thicker branch in her hand. This branch was the only foreign object in this space that could be used as a weapon. Was her identity confirmed by this branch? At this time, a sweet-looking girl from the team of Leopard Brothers Master came out and asked Yang Zhao, were you also detained by this evil man? He is so hateful that he implicated innocent people for no reason. Who are you from? Why don't I know you? Yang Zhao shook her head silently, grabbed the branch in her hand, and started running back. She didn't dare to speak, for fear that Leopard Brothers Master would hear her and recognize who she was. The girl's words sounded harmless, but none of the three parties could be offended by Yang Zhao, so she could only flee from here. That small piece of red iron was a disaster, and she would throw it away when she got out. What she had to do now was to stay away from them and try not to speak, so as not to arouse their suspicion. I don't know if it was her illusion, but she had just run 2 steps when the exit disappeared. Yang Zhao stopped and took 2 steps forward. Sure enough, the exit slowly emerged again. Back, close, forward, open. This corridor seemed to belong to Yang Zhao alone, and no one else could enter. Yang Zhao was wondering when he suddenly heard a familiar voice around him. Dao, you are using all your tricks to plot against the youngsters. It's a bit unkind. It's Zhongsheng. He came over. Yang Zhao quickly stepped back and closed the door of his corridor. The middle-aged man said bitterly, I really didn't expect you to find this place. I underestimated you. The owner of the Black Panther ran over in surprise. Uncle, are you here to save us? The young men and women next to them, regardless of their factions, gathered over to salute. Lin Lan greets Uncle Zhang. It was the girl who had just spoken to Yang Zhao. Zhu Han greets Senior Zhang. Zhongsheng waved his hand and said, hurry up and get up. There's no need to bow. I came in this time to take you out. The middle-aged man smiled. You take them out? No one can go out without my consent, including you. Zhongsheng had a gentle smile on his face. Dao, our 2 clans have already made an agreement more than 200 years ago. If you are not satisfied with anything, just tell me. Why bother making things difficult for these juniors? Let them go. Just mention any conditions. I will agree to anything that can be met. I'm satisfied. Why shouldn't I be satisfied? I'll tell you the truth. Our clan only needs one heir. From ancient times to the present, the strong have always been in power. The souls of the weak will become nourishment for the strong, nourishing the future crown prince of our clan. Zhongsheng raised his eyebrows. So from the beginning, you have been deceiving us. The middle-aged man. How can it be considered a lie? I just omitted a trivial condition. It has no effect on our agreement at all. Zhongsheng lowered his head and smiled. Dao, your plan is good, but it won't work. Why won't it work? Ever since they got my blood token, it's destined that only one can survive in the end. Because I don't agree, you can't do it. After saying that, Zhongsheng waved his sleeves. Yang Zhao felt her body become heavy and fainted. When she woke up again, her soul had returned to her body. She fell around the spring, which was full of mud. She was caught unprepared, and now she woke up covered in mud. She was still holding the red iron block in her hand. The next second, Yang Zhao's eyes went dark, and she was back to that dark place again. Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao. How could it be so fast? She didn't even have time to throw the thing in her hand away. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, Fang Shili. Before she finished her complaints, her eyes suddenly lit up, and she came out again. Yang Zhao threw the red iron sheet in his hand far away, but unexpectedly, her eyes went dark, and she came in again. In the next few minutes, Yang Zhao experienced the flickering event of unstable voltage. On, off, ugh. Yang Zhao spit out half of the acid water outside, and half of the soul fluid inside. Maybe even the two evil people who were fighting each other noticed that their behavior was immoral. When she came in again, both sides finally stopped this childish game. But at this time Yang Zhao also found something wrong. There seemed to be no sound of boys and girls inside. She had to take 2 steps forward. The exit in front of the corridor opened again. She stretched her head and looked inside tremblingly. As a result, there were only Zhongsheng and the middle-aged man inside. Everyone else was no longer here. How could she be left alone? The two people inside were very sensitive and turned their heads to look over. Hey, little tree demon. Everyone has left. Why are you still here? The middle-aged man was full of curiosity. Zhongsheng, who was standing next to her, looked at Yang Zhao with a surprised expression. He then glanced at the branch in her hand and said gently, "Miss, someone is parasitizing your soul land and is trying to take over your body. That's why others can get out but you can't." Yang Zhao realized that the flash frequency just now was not the fault of these two people, but that strange shadow. But Zhongsheng seemed to recognize her. "Miss, if the person in your soul land is always restraining you, your soul can't get out. You'd better think of some ways quickly. This is an acquaintance. It's a pity that such a young and beautiful girl will also become the nourishment of my clan's crown prince." The middle-aged man looked at Yang Zhao with a playful look. Zhongsheng looked at the middle-aged man and said, "It seems that you have made up your mind to kill those children. It seems that I can only kill you. I wonder, where do you get the confidence to kill me?" The middle-aged man made a hand gesture with his left hand, and a long red flame sword appeared in his right hand. He raised the sword and chopped. Zhongsheng was not to be outdone, and fought back with his sword. It seems that these two people have weapons, but the group of young people don't. Seeing the two people fighting, Yang Zhao hurriedly retreated. The aftermath of the battle shook the corridor slightly. She didn't dare to stay any longer and stumbled back. As soon as she returned to the small dark room, she saw that the strange shadow moved to a new place to sit, as if practicing. "Fang Shili, why haven't you died yet?" Yang Zhao stared at the strange shadow next to him with a dead face. "Strange shadow, you don't have to play dumb. The leaves on your body are the leaves of the ginkgo tree. Do you think I'm blind?" Fang Shili sneered. "Even if you know who I am, what can you do to me?" In an instant, Yang Zhao felt her scalp explode. Although she was mentally prepared at the beginning, she heard Fang Shili admit it with her own ears, and the fear in her heart surged like a tide. Fortunately, the light around was dim, and Fang Shili did not see the terrified expression on her face. "Why are you here?" Fang Shili sneered. "Why do you say? Of course it's to seize the body. This person will always have an accident, and you have an accident now, right?" Yang Zhao chuckled. "Fang Shili, it's understandable that you waited for me to have an accident before, but now I have found you. How can I let you have a chance to attack? You can't beat me here at all. I won't do anything else in the future. How about I come to chop off a few branches of your tree when I have nothing to do? You are a villain who takes advantage of others." Fang Shili was furious. "You are a peeping Tom. Pervert." Yang Zhao was also angry. The fear of the aftermath has been invading her nerves, always making her unable to control her emotions. But after a quarrel, they looked at each other in silence. Yang Zhao is now trapped here and can't get out, and Fang Shili can't do anything to Yang Zhao now and can't even beat her. While the two were still silent, the fight over there was getting more and more intense. You also saw that there are two masters fighting outside. Don't you want to get some benefits from it? I'm helping you. My requirements are not high. I just want to get out. In comparison, Yang Zhao was more anxious. There were people outside searching for meteorites. What if someone saw her unconscious there and had evil thoughts? Do you know who it is? Fang Shili asked. Yang Zhao, I only know that one side is Zhongsheng, and I don't know the other side. Fang Shili looked at the light and shadow outside with envy. I couldn't beat them when I was still a tree, let alone now that there is only a wisp of soul left. What's the benefit? You can't even fool people. Yang Zhao, aren't all these bad guys not smart? The unknown person outside has imprisoned my soul here. Now I can't get out, so I can only practice with you. Whatever you want, I'm not afraid of you. Although your soul land suppresses me, my cultivation is not comparable to yours. Fang Shili looked disdainful. But reality is always so fickle, and he swallowed what he said, before in a short while. Because a red light began to shine through from outside. Before Yang Zhao could sense anything was wrong, Fang Shili hid behind her, like he was on fire. Fang Shili, you can go out if you want, but you have to protect me now. You have to take me away later. Yang Zhao raised her eyebrows slightly. Now Fang Shili was anxious, so she didn't have to worry. What can you do as a soul? Why don't you wait a little longer until the two of them decide the winner? I will get out one day. Fang Shili, it's already this time. Why are you still taking advantage of me? Do you see the red light flashing back and forth? This thing is harmful to the soul. If you take it too much, you will still die. Yang Zhao carefully felt the feeling of the red light shining on her body, but she didn't notice anything unusual. She felt that Fang Shili was fooling her, but she didn't dare to gamble. After all, she cherished her life and didn't want to take any risks. Then what do you say to get out? Another red light flashed, and the two people lay down swiftly. Fang Shili shivered when the red light swept over her. Why are you lying down? Fang Shili glared at Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao was not to be outdone and retorted, nonsense, if I don't lie down, am I still going to help you block it? Fang Shili, you. Hurry up and tell me what you can do. If you waste time now, you will definitely be the first to die in the end. Yang Zhao also saw that this red light might be harmful to her, but for Fang Shili, the damage was even stronger. Fang Shili gathered his energy for a while, and finally asked, are there many people in your Zhao now? Yang Zhao, many, what's wrong? Chapter 56, Pray to God. Fang Shili, I remember that you Zhao have the habit of recording history. Has it continued until now? Yang Zhao was even more puzzled. He asked if this thing had anything to do with escaping from here. Of course. Fang Shili gritted his teeth and said, then you should pray. Pray to your ancestors. Pray to your gods. Let them show you a clear way. Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao looked at Fang Shili with a look that looked like an idiot. Is this man joking? A person has lost his brain because he has no body, so he has no IQ? If you ask for help from dead ancestors and gods who don't know if they exist, then the Buddhist temples, Taoist temples, and clan ancestral halls in Zhao would have been trampled through by people. Some people can even go to the Buddhist temple to worship Buddha in the morning, go to the Taoist temple to worship in the afternoon, and return to the ancestral hall to burn incense in the evening. The beliefs of the Chinese are so flexible. I don't ask much from a god, but I can ask a little from multiple gods. Now the light in the soul land is getting stronger and stronger with the escalation of the battle, and they can even see each other's expressions. Fang Shili was frightened by Yang Zhao's look, and the red light flashing outside constantly stimulated his nerves. He immediately became furious. What's that look in your eyes? Do you think I'm an idiot like you? I asked you to beg, so you should beg quickly. Whether you can get a way out depends on your sincerity. You have time to doubt me here. You might as well act quickly. Yang Zhao saw that Fang Shili was anxious, so he didn't say anything more. However, Yang Zhao had a headache. How to pray to the gods and ancestors? She only burned incense for the deceased elders in her family during festivals, and went to Yunayang temple to add incense. You must burn incense when you pray to gods and Buddhas. Where can you get incense in this broken place? You told me to pray to the gods and ancestors, but how do I pray? Is there any ceremony? Any tricks? Fang Shili became angry. Don't you even worship your own ancestors? Yang Zhao, of course I do, but I haven't asked them for anything. When you opened your meridians and awakened your spirit, you asked the god to live in your mind and borrowed a little of his power. Isn't that praying to the gods? You should be more sincere and don't waste time. Yang Zhao, no. Why should I pray? Why don't you pray? Yang Zhao felt that Fang Shili's expression was like he wanted to eat someone. What should I pray for? I have changed my cultivation to the demon path, and I'm still a demon from the red county of Shenzhou. Who do you want me to pray to? Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao knelt on the ground without saying a word, thinking wildly in his heart. Who was I thinking of when I opened my meridians and awakened my spirit last time? Oh, monkey. Ba ba ba. That's the Monkey King. That's the fighting Buddha. What monkey or not monkey? Impolite. Be careful if there is such a monkey. Bah. If the Monkey King heard what he said, he would knock him to the ground with a stick. Exclamation mark. Yang Zhao knelt on the ground with his hands clasped together, silently chanting in his heart. Great sage, please bless me. Can you kill the monster next to me with a stick? No response. Fighting Buddha, please bless me. Can you take away the monster next to me? No response. The Monkey King Sun Wukong of the Water Curtain Cave in the Flower Fruit Mountain, please bless me. Can you kick this monster out? Yang Zhao was so angry that he stood up and rushed over, pressing Fang Shili and wrestling with him. You just want me to kneel down and laugh at me, right? Where can I go to laugh at you? Sincerity, don't you know what sincerity is? You are just kidding me. Fang Shili also felt that he was being fooled and began to fight desperately there. Yang Zhao, bah, how come my heart is not sincere? You slander me. Fang Shili, this is the place of your soul. Of course, we can see whether you are sincere or not. If you pray sincerely, strange phenomena will appear on your body. If you are not sincere, naturally there will be no strange phenomena at all. You are talking nonsense. These are all your words. How can I know whether they are true or false? Fang Shili was furious and the force of the whipping increased a bit. You are an idiot who has no common sense of cultivation. You are an idiot who has changed to cultivating the demon way. Yang Zhao refused to take any loss. Although it is said that a trick can break 1,000 pounds, Fang Shili's current tree stump body cannot use this trick and can only be defeated by Yang Zhao's strength. Fang Shili lost to Yang Zhao again. She increased her strength and found that Fang Shili had not changed much. It was impossible to take the opportunity to eliminate him. She really couldn't kill him now. At this time, the red light of the fight outside became a little brighter. Have you vented your anger? If you have, go and pray to the gods. Do you really want to die here? Yang Zhao stood up, curled his lips and said, you don't have to fool me. No reaction means no reaction. What are you praying for? Fang Shili was puzzled. What am I praying for? Of course I'm praying to the gods to kill him and my ancestors to send me out. Fang Shili was going crazy. What are you thinking about? How deep is your relationship with the gods that they can agree to your unreasonable requests? How is this an unreasonable request? How can I be safe if the danger is not resolved? Fang Shili hammered the ground angrily and said, I asked you to pray sincerely, just to let your ancestors and gods take a look and point out a clear way to avoid here. Don't you feel that the murderous aura in the red light is getting heavier? It's a dead end right in front of you. Why are you thinking so far? Yang Zhao was shocked. She seemed to really feel that the red light swept over her body and gave her a sour and numb feeling. Fang Shili wanted to hide behind her all the time. The huge monster shrank several times. She even saw that when the red light touched Fang Shili, black smoke came out of his body. Yang Zhao's eyes lit up. Since praying to the gods didn't work, she could only pray to herself and use this red light to kill Fang Shili. She turned around and ran in circles. Fang Shili was not a fool. He understood her plan and yelled, Yang Zhao, do you want to die here? He stood up and started chasing Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao saw him chasing him and couldn't help but speed up. What do you mean I want to die here? I want you to die here today. You, a peeping Tom, secretly covered my life. Can I let you live? Fang Shili was furious. A green light came out of his body. The two branches that Yang Zhao had broken very short instantly grew long and attacked her from behind. When Yang Zhao saw the branches coming, he raised the wooden stick in his hand and started to hit it hard. But this is useless. Both sides have the same material. It's just a matter of who is stronger. I need to make some minor repairs. There is a bug. If you find that I have a bug, you can kick me hard. I will not make up for it tomorrow. Chapter 57. Fighting. Seeing that the attack was useless, Yang Zhao turned and ran again. Fang Shili also got ruthless, muttering something, and the green light became even stronger. Yang Zhao watched helplessly as branches sprouted all over his body, growing faster. Whoosh dang. With Fang Shili as the center, those branches, like an arrow shot from a string, hit the side wall with the sound of wind, trapping Yang Zhao between the branches. Hurry up and pray to your gods, or you will suffer the consequences. Yang Zhao gritted his teeth. There must be something wrong here, but he had little experience in cultivation and couldn't figure out the connection. If you had that ability, would you have endured it until now? You would have killed me long ago. Fang Shili didn't say much, and a thin branch stabbed into her left shoulder with the sound of wind. Ugh. Yang Zhao shivered in pain. She had been injured a lot in the past few days, but she was still not immune to pain. Fang Shili looked at her reaction and had an idea in his mind. I'll say it again. You better pray to your gods, or I'll stab you into a sieve one by one. Yang Zhao took a deep breath to relieve the pain and looked carefully at her wound. There was no blood. She glanced at the red light flashing in the room again and found that where the red light flashed, the green light on Fang Shili's body dimmed a little, but soon the dimmed area returned to its original state. Yang Zhao thought to herself, it seems that the longer the time, the better it will be for her, and she has a guess in her mind that she wants to experiment. Hurry up and pray. Whoosh. Or thin branch rushed over again. Stop. Yang Zhao stared at the branch hard and shouted. The branch seemed to have encountered an invisible film, paused for a moment, but did not stop completely, and pierced Yang Zhao's right arm. Although the pain made Yang Zhao's eyes black, she still noticed the pause in the direction of the branch's deviation at that moment. This place listens to Yang Zhao. This is the place of Yang Zhao's soul. Yang Zhao, I don't think you want to suffer any minor pain, so beg for mercy. I just want to hide from this red light. I didn't say that this red light can kill me. Yang Zhao didn't listen to what he said. Anyone who believed this kind of words to coax a child had a brain problem. It's up to you. I won't beg. You will always beg for mercy. One branch won't work. I'll give you 2, 10, or 100 branches. There will always be a moment when you can't hold on. Whoosh, whoosh. 2 branches came this time. Trap him. Trap him. Ah. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Trap him. Ah. Don't do these useless things. You can suffer less if you agree earlier. Fang Shili's voice was cold and vicious, with a smell of blood. Yang Zhao stared at him closely, his eyes looking like he was going to bite someone. You said at the beginning that you wanted to take over my body. Now I am in this state. If you killed me, you would have succeeded in taking over my body a long time ago. Why are you wasting your breath? You can't kill me, but you want to threaten me? Bah. Swish, 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 swish. Trap him. Swish, swish, swish. Trap Fang Shili for me. Crack. Boom. In an instant, all the branches broke, and the debris they brought up collapsed everywhere. 4 invisible walls fell from Fang Shili's head, trapping him in them. Ha ha ha, this place listens to me. Yang Zhao laughed loudly, enduring the pain, and pulling out the branches on her body one by one. Hiss. She gritted her teeth in pain, with a ferocious expression. Fang Shili inside the wall was a little shocked, but he calmed down in an instant. Can these few walls stop me? Whether they can stop me or not depends on me. You don't need to worry about it. Yang Zhao always felt that he was stronger than Fang Shili here, and now it seems that this feeling is true. What are you so proud of, you loser? I will definitely beat you into a pulp. After Fang Shili finished his fierce words, the green light on his body became stronger, and more branches grew out and hit the 4 walls. Boom. 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 As the force became stronger and stronger, a branch finally broke through the wall and rushed out. Hold it. The branch paused for a moment and continued to move forward. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. The branch trembled a few times and stopped. Yang Zhao understood in his heart that it seemed that the stronger and more determined the will to stop it, the higher the ability of this space would be. Boom, 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 boom. The second and third branches also rushed out. Hold it. The branch stopped. Yang Zhao frowned and looked at Fang Shili, who was struggling to resist. He couldn't just defend blindly, he had to attack. Fire. Burn him. A flame rose from the branch, but it went out in a moment. Yang Zhao's eyes lit up when he saw the flame. Fire. Light a big fire. More flames spread rapidly from the branches, and in the blink of an eye, a raging fire formed. Yang Zhao. The blazing flame seemed to have set Fang Shili's eyes on fire. No one knew what spell he chanted, but the fire on his body shrunk. How could Yang Zhao let him do what he wanted? Burn him with a big fire. Whoosh. The fire suddenly became stronger. She looked at Fang Shili and still refused to give up, so she was ruthless. Blow the wind. Woo woo woo. The strong wind blew up the broken branches on the ground and piled them around Fang Shili. The flame burned more vigorously with the broken branches. Yang Zhao realized that the fire here was not the same as the one outside. It did not rely on oxygen to burn. The flame of the strong wind added branches as fuel, but did not let the fire rely on the wind. Fang Shili did not move, and the flame on his body was suppressed again. Yang Zhao, you can't kill me. You can't kill me at all. Yang Zhao gnashed her teeth in hatred and casually summoned endless flames, ignoring his provocation. Now she and Fang Shili were in a stalemate, but Yang Zhao had the upper hand overall. Now she was roasting him slowly over a low fire and simmering him slowly over a gentle fire, and he would eventually be cooked. It was unknown how long the two sides had been in a stalemate, but Yang Zhao already felt a pain in her head like a needle prick, and Fang Shili's shouting in the fire also became quieter. At this moment, Yang Zhao felt her body become heavy, and the sky became bright in her eyes. She actually came out. Fuck. Yang Zhao pounded the ground angrily. She could see that Fang Shili had weakened, and maybe if she persisted for a while longer, she could completely eliminate him. But this time, giving up halfway gave him a chance to breathe, and the next time she dealt with Fang Shili, she would have to start all over again. With such a disaster hiding in the dark, she couldn't sleep or eat well when she thought of it. Yang Zhao took a deep breath, suppressed her irritability, and moved her body carefully. She felt a little pain, so she lifted her clothes and took a look. There were no scars on her body, caused by the branches, just pain. She felt a chill on the back of her head, stood up suddenly and looked back, and found a person standing on a hill not far away. But when the person saw Yang Zhao standing up, he ran down the hill quickly. Chapter 58, Encounter. Yang Zhao turned her head expressionlessly and checked her things. Fortunately, she woke up at the right time, otherwise the man on the hill would have taken action. However, there was a reason why there were few people here. She came out a day and a night late, and this place had been searched carefully for many times. Today, everyone was searching far away, so there were naturally few people in these nearby places. Yang Zhao carried all the things on her back, picked up a stick, and searched carefully on the ground. She must find the red iron piece. She didn't know how to enter the Soul Land, so she could only rely on the red iron piece to lead her in. Fortunately, she didn't throw it far away and found it at the root of a bush. She must get rid of Fang Shili completely. If I remember correctly, the middle-aged man called it the blood token. Yang Zhao looked at the small piece of iron in her hand and couldn't help complaining in her heart. Why did you give it a mediocre name? Exclamation mark. The names in online games and animations are so high-end, but they are so earthy in reality. She stuffed the blood token in her arms, found the direction, and started to return to the market. Her dry food was all stained with mud, so she couldn't eat it. Now her body was aching, and she didn't even dare to run. If she encountered any accidents, she couldn't run away. In fact, if her physical condition allowed, she wanted to go to another market. Yang Zhao suspected that Zhang Sheng recognized her. If Zhang Sheng lost, Yang Zhao and the owner of the Black Panther would become rivals from then on. But her physical condition was not as good as she expected, and her stomach was extremely hungry. Now she could only bite the bullet and go back. It would be best if she bought some dry food and left and didn't stay in that market so that both sides wouldn't have to meet. Yang Zhao walked and stopped and finally returned to the market when the sun set. Only half a day had passed and there were many more people in rich clothes in this market. They looked calm, with arrogance hidden between their eyebrows. They were standing in groups of 3 or 2 and talking to each other. As for the meteorite stall next to them, they didn't even look at it. Yang Zhao hid from these people and returned to the hotel. She first stored the meteorite, paid for some dry food, and asked the second brother to fill the bamboo tube with water. After everything was done, she turned around and walked out. Unexpectedly, after taking a few steps, a big black leopard jumped out from the side and stopped Yang Zhao. "Brother Bao, why did you come out? Is your master okay?" Roared Yang Zhao. "That's good. Don't you have to accompany him?" "Of course not." A young man walked out from the side, came to her and bowed deeply. "I'm Zhang Yan. I would like to thank Brother Yang for saving my life." Yang Zhao was shocked when he saw him, but when he saw that he was just thanking her, he shook his hand guiltily. "You don't have to be so polite to me. This is Brother Bao's credit. I dare not be greedy for the credit." The smile on Zhang Yan's face was bright and sincere. "How can this be greed? Brother Yang, you are too humble. I remember Zuan Sheng's credit. I dare not forget your life-saving grace. I see that you just came back from outside and haven't eaten yet. How about we eat together?" Yang Zhao waved her hand and declined politely. "I won't eat. While it's still light, I want to go outside to look for meteorites. I won't be back tonight. Friend, I still have some stock. Just tell me what meteorites you need." At this moment, Yang Zhao was deeply moved and shook his head cruelly. No, I can find it myself." The two were tugging and pushing each other here, and Zhang Sheng walked out of the hotel. Zhang Yan happily stepped forward and asked, "Uncle, you woke up? It's great. Just woke up. I just wanted to go find Miss Yang, but I didn't expect to run into her at the door. I thought Miss Yang would be a little troublesome." Zhang Sheng smiled gently on his face and turned to look at Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao's heartbeat stopped for a moment. This big man really recognized her. He licked his dry lips and responded cautiously. "Thank you for your concern. It's not a big deal." Zhang Sheng understood and didn't ask any more questions. Then "Miss Yang, please come in. I have already notified all the people who have come into contact with the blood token together. When everyone is here, I will give you a general introduction to the situation." "Did Dao Yao find the blood token as well?" Zhang Yan asked in surprise. "Why didn't I see Dao Yao?" Yang Zhao smiled awkwardly. "I found it late, and I went late, so I didn't see you either. Come in, let's eat something together." Zhang Sheng didn't allow her to refuse and led her to the hotel. The group came to an upper room and sat down. Zhang Yan started to tell the servants who came in later. "Housekeeper, prepare a table of good dishes. I want to have a drink with Dao Yao Yang." Soon, the table in front of them was filled with dishes and drinks that Yang Zhao had never seen before. Zhang Yan wanted to persuade her to drink, but was stopped by his uncle's eyes. He had to introduce the dishes to her enthusiastically. Although this table was also dominated by seafood, there were also many kinds of animals, birds, vegetables and fruits. Yang Zhao listened carefully and ate a few bites of the food listed in the food taboos. Although the food was very delicious, it was the first time she had eaten such a good meal since she came here. But she felt like chewing wax and didn't remember the taste. She wasted a table of good food in vain. After the three of them finished eating and washing up, it was already dark outside, and many people came into the hotel. Zhang Sheng led the two of them to the yard. Everyone they met along the way would greet him and take a closer look at Zhang Yan and Yang Zhao behind him. Yang Zhao felt uncomfortable being looked at and said goodbye to Zhang Sheng softly. "My lord, I won't go with you." Zhang Yan, who was next to her, heard her say this and said, "Uncle, I'll stay here with Brother Yang. You can go by yourself." Zhang Sheng nodded, left the two of them, and continued on his way. When the boys and girls next to them saw Zhang Yan stop, they all came over. "Brother Zhang, you are here. Brother Zhang, do you know why your uncle called us here?" The crowd was bustling, and Yang Zhao took the opportunity to slowly move out, but before she could move 2 steps, Zhang Yan pulled her over and introduced her to them. This is my savior, brother Yang Zhao. The boys and girls were immediately diverted. Ah. Are you the one who rode a Zuansheng to rescue brother Zhang? I heard from people at the market that you were seriously injured at the time. It was really not easy. That's right. I see that brother Yang's cultivation is not high, but he is not afraid of danger, and he drew his sword to help the unconscious brother Zhang. He will definitely achieve great success in the future. Yang Zhao listened to their praise with a stiff smile, and there was no room for him to interrupt. These people are really good at talking. Chapter 59, Blood Token. They were praising Yang Zhao loudly here, and a faint voice came from the other side. Quiet. It was Zhang Sheng's voice. He was floating in the air 10 feet above the ground. As soon as the voice fell, the yard quickly quieted down. I called you here today to talk about the blood token. Although I killed the evil spirit, the blood token itself has some problems. You have to go in and fight each other every few days. The people below suddenly became noisy. Quiet. People suddenly shut up. I cut off one of the rules inside. Now everyone who goes in has to lose 10 times, and he can get rid of the blood token forever. Of course, every time you lose, a little soul power will be lost, but you will not die. Every time you win, the soul will be stronger, until there is only one person left. Everyone in the yard was happy, and some people who knew how to deal with things had already begun to bow and thank them. As long as there is no danger to life, the soul power can also be replenished. Yang Zhao found that Zhang Sheng should have a high prestige in the eyes of these people, so once he made a promise, others would believe it. Quiet. Let's set a date now. How about once a month? On the 5th of every month. Everyone in the courtyard agreed. Just do as Senior Zhang said. Uncle Zhang, I'll do whatever you say. Quiet. The voices in the courtyard fell. That's fine. You should prepare well when the time comes. Remember not to hurt the harmony of the families. Zhang Sheng floated down after he finished speaking. He was smiling from beginning to end, and his voice was calm and gentle. After explaining the matter clearly in a few words, no one dared to ask him any more questions. Friend Yang, hurry up, otherwise they will block us, and we won't be able to go back. While everyone was still talking there, Zhang Yan dragged Yang Zhao and took the lead to return to the upper room. Zhang Yan quickly closed the door and said to Yang Zhao with an exaggerated look on his face, "Fortunately, I'm smart, otherwise we wouldn't have a night to sleep." After speaking, he pinched his fingers with one hand and shouted in a low voice, "Zhao Ming." A ball of light slowly illuminated the room. Yang Zhao found a chair and sat down, looking at the ball of light with envy. Zhang Yan saw her expression, came over excitedly and asked her, "Do you want to learn this little magic?" "Can I?" "You should pay to learn magic, right?" Yang Zhao hesitated. "Hey, why would such a little magic cost money?" "I'll teach you. I've never been a teacher before." Yang Zhao. She has been a guinea pig for others these days. She met a little fish girl before, and now she met Zhang Yan. But why should she be hypocritical when someone is willing to teach her magic for free? Yang Zhao nodded happily, bowed in a pretentious manner, and said, "I will definitely be a good student. Thank you Mr. Zhang first." "Ha ha ha ha, you don't have to call me Mr. This is just a simple little magic." Zhang Yan said no, but he couldn't stop smiling. This magic requires 2 hands to pinch the seal at the beginning. People like me who are better at learning can pinch the seal with 1 hand. There was a sense of pride in his expression. Yang Zhao also nodded in cooperation, looking at him expectantly. This was very useful to Zhang Yan, who happily taught her how to pinch the seals and how to use spiritual power step by step. Yang Zhao also followed and learned step by step, but she had never pinched the seals since she was a child, and her fingers were not as good as Zhang Yan's, so she always failed to cooperate. You can see that you don't have a proper teacher. Why don't you go to the prefectural school? You are already old. If you don't work hard to practice, it will be delayed. Seeing her clumsy movements, Zhang Yang couldn't help but persuade her. Yang Zhao had no way to answer this question, so she could only avoid the main point. "I started learning late and couldn't pass the prefectural school. It's okay, you can come back to my house with me and I will find a teacher to teach you. How about it?" Zhang Yan thought he had touched her sore spot and began to think of a solution for her. Yang Zhao hurriedly shook her head. How can I bother you? I'm fine now. Zhang Yan, what's the trouble? You saved my life. It's not a big deal to find a few teachers for you. Yang Zhao still politely refused. It's not that she didn't want to go, but she didn't dare to go. She still had a big secret hidden in her, and no one dared to trust her. Although the uncle and nephew Zhang Sheng and Zhang Yan seem to be easy to talk to, who can guarantee that they are not the next Fang family? She dared not make any mistakes. Yang Zhao could only change the subject. Do you think I'm doing this correctly? No, I still need to tighten my wrists a little and coordinate the movements of both hands. Yang Zhao practiced for a long time, and finally a small ball of light rose up. Unfortunately, the light was not bright, and it broke after a while. But such a ball of light still made her very happy. This was the first spell she learned, and it was very practical. At this time, the cry of a big leopard came from outside. Zhang Yan stood up and said, Zhu and Sheng asked me to go back and rest. You can rest in the room too. I won't disturb you. Yang Zhao suddenly realized that this upper room was prepared for her. Then where will you rest at night? It's still the worst. Zhu and Sheng can't enter other rooms. Goodbye. After that, Zhang Yan went downstairs with a thump. Yang Zhao was exhausted, but she didn't dare to delay her practice. When she finished her work, the moon was already high in the sky. She hid under the covers and secretly edited the video of the meteor shower that day and posted it online and reported to her family that she was safe. She flipped through the comments section under the video, and it was still as lively as ever. Look, the blogger just praised this video and then stopped updating. He can't stand praise. Why does this video have wilderness survival content, but that big leopard is so handsome? Little brother. Handsome little brother. It's his second time on camera. I guess they use the actors they usually use. In the future, you should also post more handsome men and beautiful women. I'll give you tap water. In fact, I find that their videos are very logical, because the sky in the background is always the same. Even if the angle is different, you can tell that it is the same planet. I want to touch the leopard. Will such a big black cat have pink claws? Who doesn't want to clean the poop for such a big cat? I don't want to. I'm afraid it will eat me in one bite. The planet the blogger chose looks like a satellite, and the big one in the sky is a planet. I always thought that the one in the sky was a relatively large satellite. No, I compared the entire sky in his videos, and the movement trajectory is not that of a satellite. There are many hidden dragons and crouching tigers among these netizens. There is always someone who can find something that others can't find. Yang Zhao turned off his phone and began to rest. Chapter 60. Thank you. When she woke up the next day, it was already bright. It seemed that Yang Zhao was very tired and slept for a long time. Yang Zhao washed up and asked her second brother to bring up some food. Just after she finished eating and asked her second brother to clear the table, she heard someone knocking on the door. She opened the door and found that it was the housekeeper of the Zhan family. Miss Yang Zhao, are you free now? My master wants to invite you over to talk. Which master? The housekeeper. Of course it's the fifth master. It turned out that Zhang Sheng was the fifth in their family. Yang Zhao, I don't have anything to do now. I'll pack my things and I can go down with you anytime. The housekeeper was very polite. Please, don't rush. Yang Zhao put on her school bag and followed the housekeeper to another upper room. There was only Zhang Sheng in the room, sitting at the table reading a book. Hello, sir. She was the first to greet him. You're welcome. Come and sit down. Yang Zhao found a chair and sat down. The housekeeper gently closed the door and left. I came to you alone today to ask, what happened to the outsider in your soul land? Yang Zhao rubbed his fingers and said with nothing to hide, I'm in a stalemate with him now. Although I have some advantages, I can't completely eradicate him. Zhang Sheng nodded in appreciation and said, that shows that your soul is very tough. Anyone who can take the initiative to take over another person's body must have reached the realm of refining ki into spirit. It's not easy for you who have just opened your meridians and awakened your spirit to have the upper hand. He then asked, my nephew once mentioned to me that he wants you to visit my Yang Zhao clan and visit a famous teacher. What do you think? Yang Zhao shook his head in shame. Sir, my hometown is nearby and my relatives are here. I don't want to go too far. Okay, I understand what you mean. Zhang Sheng handed her the book he had just read. Keep this book. It contains some worthless little spells. I don't know how your meridians are, and I really can't choose the main practice method for you. This is a bit too expensive. I can't accept it. Yang Zhao pushed the book back. Don't be polite with me. This is just a part of the thank you gift. You saved my nephew's life. If I don't give you anything, it's not right. Yang Zhao could only take the book back. If the favor is heavy enough, you have to let the other party repay it first. Otherwise, the longer the time is delayed, the heavier the favor will be, and it will be bad if we turn against each other in the end. She accepted some things now, so that they don't always worry about this matter. Then thank you, sir. There are some small spells in it. If you don't understand anything, just ask Zhang Yan when you fight on the 5th of every month. Yes, I will ask you. Zhang Sheng took out a small black flower bag from his sleeve, gently placed it on the table, and pushed it to Yang Zhao. I heard that you were looking for meteorites with silver crystal ore. I didn't prepare in advance. There are only 3 pounds of refined silver crystal ore and some small things in it. You can take it. Yang Zhao stared blankly at the flat bag on the table. It didn't look like it could hold 3 pounds of things. Could it be the legendary storage bag? I only need a few taels of silver crystal ore, and this bag looks too expensive. I'm really embarrassed to accept it. This bag is not worth much. It's a small Kyankan bag. It can't hold many things. I'm giving it to you to play with. Besides, the silver crystal ore is even less valuable. Just take it. Zhang Sheng's smile was very gentle, but the tone of his words made it impossible to refute and obey. It seems that this life-saving favor is very heavy, and this thank you gift is also very heavy. This also reminds her that they have tried their best to repay this favor. Thank you very much, sir. Yang Zhao silently picked up the Kyankan bag. Although it looks deflated, the Kyankan bag still has some weight when picked up. That's right, just accept it openly. The formation on this island has been removed. We will leave soon. Do you want to come with us? Asking in this matter usually means that the person does not want to go with you. Yang Zhao still has some emotional intelligence. No, I have already made an appointment with people on this island to go back together. I will go with you and leave them alone. Zhang Yan, okay, let's see you later. Goodbye. Yang Zhao stuffed the Kyankan bag into her arms, stood up with the book, bowed and said goodbye, opened the door and walked out. She didn't dare to breathe until she left the room. Although Zhang Sheng's attitude was very gentle, his momentum was too strong, and people didn't dare to speak loudly. Yang Zhao went back to the room to pack up and prepare to leave. The gains of this operation have far exceeded Yang Zhao's expectations. It can be said that she has returned with a full load. She has to go back to the beach to wait for the black rock bird. What if she goes too late and can't catch up? When they were going downstairs, they happened to meet Zhang Yan and his big leopard. Zhang Yan greeted them with a smile. Friend Yang, are you leaving now? Aren't you going back with us? Yang Zhao also walked over with a smile and replied, I have already made an appointment with someone. Let's go together. I won't bother you. After she finished speaking, she turned to look at the big leopard and said, Brother Leopard, I'm leaving now. I will give you a big gift next time we meet. Brother Leopard obviously didn't take it seriously. Roro, don't look down on me. I will definitely give you a big gift. After all, we are friends who have risked our lives for each other. I will definitely give you something you like. If you don't like it, I will change it for you. Roar, okay, it's a deal. Let's make a promise. Next time we meet, don't pretend not to know me. Roar. Zhang Yan, who was standing next to him, laughed when he heard it. Friend Yang, do you speak animal language? I have been with it since I was a child, so I roughly understand what it means. How can you communicate with it so smoothly? Yang Zhao was also a little puzzled when she heard it. She didn't know why she could communicate with the big leopard now. When they first met, they really didn't speak the same language and couldn't communicate. I don't know about this either. Maybe I understand it naturally, because I have been through hardships with Brother Leopard. Yang Zhao carefully raised her hand and gently touched the fur on Brother Leopard's shoulder. Roar, the big leopard shook his head and dodged. Stingy. Zhang Yan laughed and scolded, turning to ask Yang Zhao, "Are you leaving now?" Yang Zhao, "Yes, I have to go to the beach in advance to meet up, so I'll take my leave now." Zhang Yan, "Take care, see you later." Big Leopard, Raw. Yang Zhao waved her hand and wanted to go back along the way she came. She had just taken a few steps when she thought of something and ran back. Zhang Yan was a little surprised. "Did you forget something?" "Friend Zhang, I want to ask you something. Do you know why ghosts can't come to this island? There are still 2,000 words left, which will be made up tomorrow, so 6,000 words tomorrow. Come on." I overhauled chapters 53 to 56, which is equivalent to rewriting, and slightly revised the previous 3 chapters to fill in the bugs. Book friends who have read it can reread it. Chapter 61, Old Friend. Zhang Yan was stunned when he heard this and looked at Yang Zhao inquiringly, but did not ask any more questions. The meteor showers in the past few days have caused a lot of skyfire, and the spiritual energy here has also been contaminated with the breath of skyfire. Ghosts can't stand the skyfire. Yang Zhao, I still have one thing I don't understand. Why use a large formation to attract meteor showers on the island? I think the harvest of meteorites is not enough to offset the consumption of this formation. This question really made Zhang Yan look at him with new eyes. Few people pay attention to these problems, especially those who are busy running around. There are too many flying stones in this world, especially in summer. In order to avoid more casualties and losses, we can simply attract most of the flying stones on this island and deal with them together. As for the harvest of meteorites, it is incidental. I didn't expect this to be a large-scale people benefiting project. Thank you for your doubts, Taoist friend. The mountains and rivers will remain unchanged, and we will meet again. Take care. Yang Zhao carried her bag and set off again. This trip was relatively smooth. She walked all the way to the beach. There were already many people waiting at the station here. She went to buy a ticket first, and waited for more than an hour before it was her turn to go. The black rock bird was still so brave and majestic, carrying her across the ocean all the way back to the port of Huanglangang. As soon as she came out, Yang Zhao found that the atmosphere at the port was very sad. There were many people gathered under the platform, each with a solemn expression, and some were crying there. Yang Zhao heard the people next to him sigh and say, "Oh, pitiful. It was fine in previous years. Who knew that there would be an accident this year?" That's right. So many people didn't die before. It is said that those who died and injured that day received some pension silver. What does it matter? 10 or 20 taels, it's useless. It's good to have it. This is not a war. Poor people who have old parents and young children. Yang Zhao felt very sad when he heard it and walked down the platform quickly. At a glance, he saw Shenroi holding an umbrella in the crowd. "In this hot sun, do you still need an umbrella?" She walked over quickly and saluted. "Hello, master, why are you here?" Shenroi looked her up and down and said with relief, "I heard that there was an accident during this meteor shower. I was worried about you, so I came to see you." Yang Zhao stretched his arms and legs and jumped twice. "I'm fine. I was lucky this time and only suffered some skin injuries. It's not serious." "Master, why did you come out with an umbrella?" The skyfire brought by the meteor shower in the past few days has also had a little impact on Huanglang port. I opened an umbrella to cover it. Let's go back. Shenroi led Yang Zhao to the animal cart that had been ordered nearby. They walked a few steps and found that there were many stalls collecting meteorites near the port. There were signs next to them with the purchase price written on them, which was 10% higher than on the island. "Master, is it Master Yang Zhao?" Yang Zhao seemed to hear someone calling her. She turned her head and saw a little girl jumping and waving her hands next to a stall collecting meteorites. "Master, it's me." Yang Zhao looked closely and saw that it was Yang Mei. Wasn't she in Shandifang in Kangcheng? How did she come here? Yang Zhao said something to his master and got off the car. Shenroi ordered the driver to park the animal cart in a secluded place. Yang Mei saw her coming and saluted happily and called out, "Master, it's really you. How are you doing these days?" Yang Zhao was also very happy. He grabbed her and pulled her to the side of the road to ask about her recent situation. "I'm fine. Thank you for your concern. How did you get here from Kangcheng? Yang Mei said with a smile. Shanfang is going to set up a factory in Huanglonggang. I followed Manager Ang to be the first. Yang Zhao was shocked. He had only been out of Shandifang for a few days, and Manager Ang came to Huanglonggang to open a factory. Have you decided on the address? I'll go to Shandifang to meet shopkeeper Ang when I have time. It's been decided a long time ago. It's in the South City. Shopkeeper Liu from Shunking Dental Clinic in Kangcheng was the one who made the connection. You know that shopkeeper Liu too. I heard from shopkeeper Ang that you were introduced by him. Yang Zhao immediately had an impression. Shopkeeper Liu personally sent her to Shandifang and didn't ask her for the broker's fee. He probably went to build a relationship with shopkeeper Ang. Shopkeeper Huang from another dental clinic sent a math master who came back from Huanglonggang because he was eyeing this big business. In the end, shopkeeper Liu had a better plan and took the deal. Are you the only one who came? Where's Yang Lu? Yang Zhao turned around and asked others. Yang Mei said a little embarrassedly. Yang Lu was favored by the chief priest, and now she is learning from him. That's great. Yang Lu has really made progress. Seeing that she was not angry, Yang Mei also laughed happily. She is smart and studies hard, but I'm not. I'm not as smart as her. Manager Ang said that I'm good at talking and asked me to try dealing with people. I came to the port to collect meteorites today. Yang Zhao looked at the stall behind her. There was indeed a sign of Shandifang on the signboard. Since you have a serious job, go back. How can you delay for so long? I will go to Shandifang to play with you when I'm free. Yang Mei was a little shy. Then I will neglect my master. What's the neglect? Go back. The two parted ways, and Yang Zhao went to find Shen Ruoyu and returned to the city with the beast cart. When he saw the familiar courtyard, Yang Zhao felt tired all over. Shen Ruoyu looked at her kindly. I see that you look exhausted. Practice for a while and then take a rest. We can talk about it tomorrow if there is anything. Thank you, master. Yang Zhao was not polite. After practicing, she was too lazy to cook. She ate the dry food in the bag with water and lay down in the quilt after taking a shower. In fact, fatigue is only a kind of mental fatigue. She didn't want to sleep. She tossed and turned in the quilt and couldn't fall asleep. She picked up her phone and started editing videos. There was nothing good to see in today's video. She focused on recording the various spirit beasts, flying boats, single-person aircraft, flying swords, etc. she saw while traveling. After sending it, she checked the comment area as usual. This time the comment area has exploded. Fuck. 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 I have a low level of education. The guy above me didn't graduate from the 9-year compulsory education either. Is this a video? This is money. Can anyone who knows tell me how much this second costs? The sense of oppression brought by this meteorite is too real. Let me see the extreme movement of this leopard. I want to see the 3D version. I want to see the 3D version. Show me the 3D version. Is this video restricted? Why hasn't it become popular yet? This kind of big production will require at least 100,000 fans. Director at X, please take a look. I know your account is active. Can you use special effects like this in your next movie? This big leopard is so brave. So handsome. More handsome than a human. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, Kyankan Bag. Yang Zhao was in a good mood as she looked at the explosive comments below. Her fans officially exceeded 100,000. She took out the Dao card and could see that the incense had grown a little while she was covered in the quilt. The incense was her channel of communication with her parents. At present, it seemed that this channel was still very stable. The phone was still chirping, all of which were messages from her younger brother Yang Yun. Sister, you are not injured, are you? Sister, reply to me when you see it. Sister, don't worry, I didn't tell my parents about this. There are always people in this world who think about her and care about her safety. Those warm words soothed her fatigue. I'm safe and not injured. Don't worry. It's right not to tell them. I forgot to ask you, what are you going to do with school now? Yang Yun, I'm glad you are okay. If you are injured, you must tell me. Don't worry about me. The school allows me to take online classes at home. Yang Zhao felt sorry for her younger brother, but in order to take care of her parents at home, this was the best choice. The two siblings chatted for a few words, and Yang Zhao couldn't hold on and finally fell asleep. The next day she was awakened by the sound of knocking on the door. Shenryu opened the door outside. Who are you looking for? A strange voice sounded outside the door. Is this Shenryu's home? Excuse me, is Yang Zhao back? Here is her meteorite package and medical expenses. Please ask her to open it. Wulian Xianzhen, Yang Zhao is back. Wait a minute, I'll go call her. No need to call, I'm coming out. Yang Zhao ran out wearing a coat and slippers. She took out the key from her arms and took out the meteorite from the box. The young man took out 3 taels of silver from his arms and handed it to her. This is your medical expenses. Yang Zhao took the silver and the young man carried the box and left. Shenryu closed the door and looked at her with a frown. You are also a woman. How can you come out to meet outsiders like this? It's embarrassing. Yang Zhao looked at the clothes on his body and didn't think there was anything wrong. But thinking about the age of his master, he said these 2 sentences very restrainedly. Grandmaster, please wait a moment. I will come out as soon as I finish packing. Yang Zhao ran back to the house to wash and dress up, and then she and Shenryu sorted out the gains on the island. First of all, there were meteorites. In fact, due to various reasons, she did not pick up too many this time. The most left in her hands were glass meteorites, followed by silver crystal or meteorites, and a small amount of other metal meteorites. Most of the metal meteorites were exchanged for silver crystal or meteorites. The real big head was the thank you gift from Zhongsheng. Yang Zhao took out the spell book first. Grandmaster, take a look at this first. Shenryu took the book, flipped through it roughly and said, it records some small spells. You can learn some. I didn't expect that these small spells have been modified a lot in the past few hundred years. Grandmaster, is this different from what you learned before? Yang Zhao was a little curious. Shenryu looked at the book in his hand and said with emotion, it's very different, which is normal. How can something remain unchanged for thousands of years? These are much easier to learn than what I learned before. Then Grandmaster, can you teach me the cultivation method of our sect? Shenryu smiled. Rascal, you are waiting for me here. To be honest, I have wanted to teach you for a long time, but you only have 4 of the 8 extraordinary meridians and 12 main meridians in your body. You can only learn the Yunyang Temple's exercises after all of them are open. Yang Zhao felt a little tricky when he heard this. It seemed that he could only trouble Miss Zhao. Fortunately, she had already collected all the silver crystal or meteorites in her hands. Changing the subject, she took out the small Kyankan bag from her arms. Shenryu raised her eyebrows and said, oh, you've made a fortune. Where did you get this Kyankan bag? Grandmaster, you have a good eye. I helped the Chan Sao clan a little. This Kyankan bag and the magic book were awarded by their 5th master. Shenryu didn't believe her words at all. You don't know the value of these things. You must have helped a lot. You didn't save their child, did you? Yang Zhao was surprised. Grandmaster, are these expensive? Why not? No matter what is in this Kyankan bag, the most expensive one is always this bag. Although I don't know what its price is now, it is really too difficult to make. We outsiders who have no connections can't buy it at all. Yang Zhao always thought that the 3 pounds of refined silver crystals in the bag were the most expensive, but she didn't expect that the most expensive one was this bag. However, this was also misled by the online novels she read before. This bag was given as a set when the clan accepted new disciples. In her heart, it was not a valuable thing. Okay, you don't have to take out everything in the bag. Since you have a Kyankan bag, you can take this positioning Sinan in my hand. Shenryu muttered, and a Sinan appeared in his hand. This positioning Sinan is a silver grey cube, which looks to be 10 centimeters in size. It is inlaid with patterns, but because it is not transparent, the structure inside cannot be seen at all. If you listen carefully, you can hear the sound of dripping inside. Master, how can you let me hold such an important thing? Besides, it is not safe for me to hold it. Yang Zhao saw this positioning Sinan for the first time and was a little curious. Shenryu looked at the positioning Sinan and sighed. If you don't have the Kyankan bag, I won't give you this positioning Sinan. This Sinan has been occupied by Fang Shili for such a long time. The Fang family must have a way to find it. He pushed the positioning Sinan to Yang Zhao and said, these days I have to wrap it with spiritual power all the time, which is very laborious. This Kyankan bag can block the outside search spells. It's just right for you to hold it. Then Grandmaster, can't you just hold the Kyankan bag? Yang Zhao was a little embarrassed. What are you talking about? This positioning Sinan was originally meant for you to hold. You are now the heir of Yunayang Temple. I just keep it temporarily for safety reasons. Don't forget that I'm already a ghost. Such a spiritual thing, if placed in my hands, will become ineffective one day. Yang Zhao. Besides, how can I hold the Kyankan bag when I don't even have clothes on? If I hide it, won't I still have to spend magic power all the time? Seeing his firm attitude, Yang Zhao no longer shirked and began to ask how to use the Kyankan bag. This is simple. It's obvious that someone has erased the mark on your Kyankan bag. There are ropes on both sides. You can input spiritual power into the ropes to leave your mark. Just use it like a normal money bag. Shenryu taught her. Yang Zhao first input spiritual power and tried it a few times. It really worked. She found that the Kyankan bag was not about how big the space inside was, but that it became smaller after the things were put into the bag. Chapter 63. Who? Yang Zhao took out a few small bottles from his Kyankan bag, opened them and looked at them. He didn't recognize the contents, so he handed them to Shenryu. He opened the bottle stopper and sniffed carefully, saying, this small blue bottle contains the lowest level soul replenishing pills, which are generally used to cultivate the soul. The two yellow ones are bone strengthening pills, which you can use when you reach the bone forging stage. The red ones are for applying on wounds. Seeing Shenryu put down the bottles, Yang Zhao took out the 3 pounds of purified silver crystal. Although the silver crystal is silver, it is shaped like a block of salt, with small pieces of particles. It looks particularly beautiful when the sun shines on it. Shenryu picked it up and weighed it and said, the purified meteorite silver crystal still has the smell of heavenly fire on it. The quality is good. How can these 3 pounds be worth more than 1,000 taels of silver? I said you are doing me a great favor. Tell me honestly, what happened? Yang Zhao smiled foolishly, took out his mobile phone, and showed him the video recorded that day. Shenryu frowned. Wulian Xianzhen, what is going on with this meteor shower? Yang Zhao told Shenryu the inside story she knew again, and mentioned Fang Shili who was lurking in her soul. Shenryu's face immediately darkened after hearing it. That Fang Shili is so bold. I was wondering why he died so easily. It turns out that he wanted to take your body. Shenryu walked back and forth and asked her, which immortal did you invite to suppress your Linghei Xiangang when you opened your meridians and raised your spirit? I will teach you a corresponding spell and ask the great power of the immortal to take him. Yang Zhao. How can she say this? She is a registered disciple of Taoism, but the immortal she invited is a Buddhist immortal. If she tells this, the master will not expel her from the sect. Seeing that she didn't speak, Shenryu asked again. Yang Zhao licked his lips. I invited the Monkey King. The Monkey King? Shenryu looked a little strange. Wulian Xianzhen. Sun Wukong? I remember he was a disciple of Buddhism, and did he ascend to the throne of God? What is ascending to the throne of God? Yang Zhao didn't want to talk about Buddhism. There are 2 ways to ascend to the throne of God. One is to become a god through cultivation, and the other is to become a god through incense. At my time, there were very few temples that even worshipped Sun Wukong, so of course he couldn't ascend to the throne of God. And don't confuse people. Why did you choose him in the first place, and not the 3 pure ones of Taoism? Well, this question still couldn't be fooled, so she could only bite the bullet and answer. Master, you also know that I'm a registered disciple, and I'm not very familiar with the gods of Taoism. Shenryu, then you are familiar with the gods of Buddhism? Yang Zhao didn't know what expression was on her face. I'm not familiar with them either. I'm more familiar with Sun Wukong. Seeing her like this, Shenryu didn't continue to dwell on this issue. This is troublesome. I don't know how to ask this Buddha to help you. Do you know? Yang Zhao shook her head in embarrassment. Shenryu saw her embarrassment and could only speak to comfort her. Then you and him can only slowly grind it out. Alas, you have suffered the consequences. But there is also a benefit. This will make your soul more resilient. Every time you fight with him and win, the soul power that escapes will directly nourish your soul, and it will be much easier to practice in the future. Yang Zhao felt very painful when she thought about it, but there was nothing she could do. She could only change the subject and ask something else. Grandmaster, do you know why Fang Shili forced me to invite the gods? Shenryu sneered. Humph, what else could it be for? He is restricted by you in your soul land. If you want you to invite the gods to go to our clan soul land, he is now cultivating the ginkgo tree, and he can enter without being invited by others. Yang Zhao was puzzled when she followed the corridor to the place where the middle-aged man fought. Why didn't Fang Shili follow her? She couldn't figure this out, so she could only ask Shenryu. Shenryu, because you are going to someone else's clan soul land, you are invited to go there. He did not receive the invitation and cannot go. Okay, you should find someone to open up the rest of your meridians first, and I will teach you to practice formally. Yang Zhao nodded, put the important things in the Kyankan bag, took out about 3 taels of purified silver crystal, put it in a bag with the silver crystal or meteorite, and put it in the school bag, and put the mobile phone in the corner of the school bag. It was still early, so I went to Miss Ruojuan's house first. Miss Ruojuan was very happy to see her. She first asked her if she was injured that day, and expressed her gratitude to her. Sir, the timing of your throwing those 3 beans was too good. I actually swam to the closed formation by myself. I was able to touch a rapidly falling meteorite at such a close distance. Yang Zhao complained in his heart expressionlessly. Yes, it was not close. The bean was smashed to death by the meteorite. Didn't you see that Nanny Wang next to him had a black face? She quickly changed the subject. Miss Ruojuan, it's getting late. If you have any questions about math these days, please tell me, and I'll explain it to you. Miss Ruojuan calmed down her excitement and took out a bound small notebook. Sir, these are all the things I don't understand. Please teach me. Yang Zhao explained math problems to Miss Ruojuan for the whole morning, had lunch with her, and came to see Miss Zhao in the afternoon. This time she went directly to Miss Zhao's aunt, and in front of her, she handed the bag of silver crystal meteorite and purified silver crystal to Miss Zhao. Miss Zhao dodged with her bare hands. Sister Yang Zhao, this is too expensive. I can't accept it. What's there to be said? This is the tuition fee Miss Yang Zhao gave you. You just need to teach her how to use acupuncture and locate acupoints when the time comes. The aunt spoke up next to her. Yang Zhao also nodded repeatedly. Miss Zhao, just accept it with peace of mind. If there are places I cannot learn well in the future, please feel free to teach me. Miss Zhao's face turned red, and she stuttered a little when she spoke. My level is not good enough. I have only successfully opened the pulse for you. How can I charge you tuition? In view of Miss Yang Zhao's sincerity, Zhao, you teach her first, and I will come to test you. After you hand in the money, I will correct you if you are wrong. How about it? Yang Zhao was delighted and stood up to thank her. This was her idea, so that she could lean on the big tree for shade. If there were places where Miss Zhao taught incorrectly, someone could correct her. Otherwise, she would not have collected a pound of silver crystals, which are worth 300 to 500 taels of silver. Miss Zhao on the side also understood a little, and looked at her aunt with sparkling eyes. Thank you for your help, aunt. Chapter 64, Cultivation. Please add to favorites and recommend. Yang Zhao followed the aunt to the empty room. Zhao also went to get a book and came later. Yang Zhao sat on the chair and put her school bag in the place where the video was. Sister Yang Zhao, acupuncture is actually very simple. The first acupuncture point should be light, so as to gently open the meridians and let the spiritual energy enter the body. The middle acupuncture points should be stable, so as to stabilize the entire meridian and not be disordered. The last acupuncture point should be heavy, so as to cut off the path of the spiritual energy. Zhao handed the book to Yang Zhao. Sister Yang Zhao, this is the book I used to learn to open the meridians. I give it to you. Then she explained a page of the book in detail, and finally wanted to try it on Yang Zhao to let her feel it for herself. The aunt who was sitting next to her drinking tea coughed and stopped Zhao's actions, and then personally gave Yang Zhao a few needles. Just listen to Zhao. Don't let that kid randomly give you acupuncture. Do you still want to walk back by yourself? Yang Zhao was scared after hearing this. She really heard that someone had stabbed himself and became paralyzed. The aunt took out the needles from her body and said, "That's all I'll tell you today. It's hard to digest too much. Come here when you have time and learn little by little. If you have any questions, ask me again. Thank you so much for your help. I have nothing to do every afternoon now, so I can come here to learn." Yang Zhao said goodbye to the two of them gratefully, put on her school bag and walked home. On the way, she had some dinner at a small stall. When she got home, Shenroi was not there again. She went into the house and started to sort out today's videos, and then started to copy the book. The more troublesome part of copying the book is that she can't translate it into Chinese without authorization. There is always some gap between the two languages, and it is easy to misunderstand the meaning. The book records life-threatening things, and the consequence of arbitrarily translating is to disregard human life. She can only copy it in the local language, which is much slower. It took her 2 nights to copy the book. Then she asked Shenroi to follow her, and the two of them found another meridian opening clinic together to officially open all the remaining meridians. Yang Zhao endured the shame and found a female pulse opening master who recorded the whole process. This time, the pulse opening was much more difficult than the last time, but the female pulse opening master was very experienced, and the process went smoothly. Only Yang Zhao felt a greater fear than the last time, and was finally knocked back by a monkey with a stick. When she woke up, she felt a buzzing sound on her head. "Can't you knock me a little softer? If I get stupid, who will be responsible?" Yang Zhao complained in a muttered voice. Shenroi, who was waiting outside, was very happy to see her come out. "Stretch out your hand, let me take your pulse." Yang Zhao obediently stretched out his hand and let him take his pulse. "Wulian Xianzhen, this time it's good. The meridians are all unblocked, and I can practice the orthodox exercises." After the two returned home, Shenroi began to dictate the exercises, and Yang Zhao copied them in Chinese characters and recorded them. Shenroi sighed when she saw that she had finished copying. "This is the 3 Pure Ones True Yang Sutra, the orthodox practice of Yunyang Temple. In fact, if possible, I don't want you to learn it." Yang Zhao looked up and asked, "What's the matter?" Shenroi, "Well, this practice is an old version from 500 or 600 years ago. It must be a bit old-fashioned. If someone has been sorting and revising it in the past 500 or 600 years, it will definitely be much better than it is now." She understood that the master thought that this practice was outdated and could not keep up with the times. But there was no way. If Yang Zhao really found a practice that could keep up with the times in his hometown, he would not dare to learn it. What's the big deal? It's not easy to have a suitable practice. I dare not be greedy. Shenroi was a little dissatisfied with his attitude. How can this be greedy? Cultivating the mind requires following nature, and cultivating the truth requires going against the will of heaven. Both are indispensable. A cultivator must have the attitude of a cultivator. Yang Zhao nodded repeatedly, and did not talk back. Shenroi invited her to the yard and said, "I will take you to practice together in the next 2 days. You should study hard and don't cheat." "Grandmaster, are there any movements in formal practice? You asked this question last time." "It's the same. Your willpower can't command the spiritual power to flow along your meridians. If you are distracted and the spiritual power goes astray, you will go astray. These routines of practice are to help you concentrate." Yang Zhao thought it made sense. He quickly took out his mobile phone, found a good position to take pictures, and walked behind the Grandmaster to learn from him. This movement is to help you better control the flow of spiritual energy. Don't just make movements. You have to do the movements well, otherwise how can the spiritual energy flow? You have to concentrate and don't let your mind wander. This movement is coherent, and the flow of spiritual energy is also coherent. You can't disconnect it. Yang Zhao was so upset that his hands and feet, which were used freely, now had their own ideas, not to mention spiritual energy. Memories of the Teikai exam in college came back to her mind. They were all precious videos of humans taming their hands, feet, and bodies. This time, Yang Zhao was even more tired. Sweat kept pouring down. After practicing once, she felt her whole body was hot. The most special thing was that her sensitivity to the spiritual energy around her was greatly improved. She could sense that this substance called spiritual energy was constantly moving around her. At this moment, she felt like a myopic person seeing the world clearly for the first time. The spiritual energy was no longer nothingness, it became a tangible object that could be seen and touched. Yang Zhao was very excited and practiced a few more times with her master. Okay, practice according to your ability. This depends on hard work. It is not something that can be mastered overnight. You should go back and wash up and rest. Shenryu stopped her from practicing again. Yang Zhao, thank you for your teachings, master. I'm sorry for bothering you today. What are we thanking for? Go ahead. A woman should pay attention to her face. Yang Zhao. This was because she was dissatisfied with the smell of sweat on her body, but no one's sweat is fragrant. Yang Zhao went back to the house to wash up awkwardly, and then went out to eat a big meal. Today, she obviously ate more than usual, and she always wanted to eat meat. She thought to herself, it seems that the amount of activity today is relatively large. After eating and drinking, Yang Zhao stayed in the house to contact her brother. Brother, I now have a complete method of opening meridians and awakening spirits. Ask the other party if they are interested. If they are interested, find someone to come out alone. Ask him to add me on WeChat, and I will chat with him alone. Who this other party is does not need to be stated explicitly, and everyone knows it as soon as it is said. Yang Yun, okay, I will tell them for you right away. But you also know that they always have to hold a meeting or something, so they are slow to act. Yang Zhao, it's okay, I'm not in a hurry. I collected -2 today. It became a negative number. Chapter 65, A Rich Country and a Strong People. After waiting for more than an hour, Yang Yun pushed a business card to Yang Zhao. The online name was Guo Fu Minimum Kaiang. Yang Zhao looked at the online name and felt an indescribable sense of familiarity. He turned around and looked at Yang's father's online name, Guo Te Minimum. Well, these two must be from the same generation. Yang Zhao added the friend, and the other party accepted it immediately. Guo Fu Minimum Kaiang. Hello, comrade Yang Zhao, I'm Zhang Fuguo who is responsible for contacting you. If you have any needs, you can contact me at any time. Someone will be responsible 24 hours a day. Yang Zhao, I'm Yang Zhao. You should also know that I now have a whole book on opening meridians. I have also invited a teacher to answer my questions. As for the video tutorial of Keeling, I have also recorded it. I just want to ask if you are interested. Guo Fu Minimum Kaiang, little comrade, let's not talk about those things first. I only want to ask you one thing. What is your definition of yourself now? Yang Zhao's definition of himself has never changed since he came to this world. Yang Zhao, I'm an American Indian who came to the European continent before 1492. There was silence for a long time before the other side replied. Guo Fu Min Kiang, what about the famous teacher you found to explain? We can't master a language in a short time. Yang Zhao, I have a hearing ear that I can give to you. Wearing it, you can understand the local language. But there is only one. You should understand what it means. Guo Fu Min Kiang, if wearing it can really understand the language of the other world, we will definitely not consider scientific experiments first. You can set the price of this hearing ear first. We definitely can't take it for free. Yang Zhao, this hearing ear was given to me by my master. I don't want any money for it. Guo Fu Min Kiang, okay, what are your conditions for other things? Yang Zhao, I paid 400 taels of silver for those acupuncture methods for opening the meridians. You can give me 20% of the silver, half of which is converted into money for my parents and the other half is for me. Gold and silver are equivalent here, and I only accept silver now. This time the other side paused and replied to her after a while. Guo fu minimum Kayang. Okay, let's do as you say. What about the others? Yang Zhao, to open the veins, you need something called vein leaves. That thing is a consumable. One with poor quality costs 20 to 30 taels of silver per piece, and one with good quality costs 70 to 80 taels of silver per piece. If you want to buy it, I will add a 20% purchasing fee. For special items that are hard to buy, the purchasing fee will reach 100%. This time the pause over there was even longer. Guo fu minimum Kayang. We have discussed it here. Now you are the only one who can transport these things. In the future, we will need you to purchase more things on our behalf. Therefore, the 20% fee for general items is a bit expensive. We tend to set it at 5%. The agency fee for special items can be 100%. Yang Zhao, every time I go back to deliver something, I have to consume my accumulated incense. Incense is priceless. I can't sell it at a low price. Guo fu minimum Kayang. We can raise it to 8% at most, because we don't know if the price you quoted is inflated. If you have a way to prove your credit, we can raise it to 10% of the agency fee. Guo fu minimum Kayang. After all, this is not the nature of a purchasing fee, but a toll. All our trade at this stage will go through you, and it may be the same in the next few years or even more than 10 years. This is equivalent to 10% of the trade volume between the two worlds. So the trust between the two sides is a big problem. How can the credit of both sides be guaranteed? Yang Zhao suddenly had an idea and thought of the contract he signed with Zheng Zhang, the Lord of Kangcheng, regarding the Fang family's property. Yang Zhao, I'll ask someone about this matter and give you the result tomorrow. Guo fu min Qiang. Okay. As long as you have a solution, I will also give in. Yang Zhao, of course, I'm not a businessman and I don't put money first. I just want to give myself some confidence in my practice. Guo fu min Qiang, I understand. You can contact me anytime when you decide to trade. It's your convenience. Yang Zhao, okay, let's contact next time. Finally, she was about to start solving this big thing, and she was finally relieved. These days, she was squeezed by this world and ran around. She couldn't stop, even when she encountered life-threatening situations several times. Now she can finally take a break and have a good sleep. The next morning, Yang Zhao went to explain arithmetic to Miss Ruojuan. After class, she asked Miss Ruojuan during the meal break. Miss Ruojuan, where did you buy the Kyanji beans? I also want to buy a few to play with. Miss Ruojuan, if you like it, I have a box here. I will give it to you directly. You don't need to buy it elsewhere. After that, she asked Nanny Wang to get the Kyanji beans. After hearing this, Yang Zhao shook his head again and again. No merit, no reward. How can I take your things for free? I'm just a little curious about this bean. Just tell me where you can buy it. Miss Ruojuan did not force it, and said, basically, it is sold in the immortal art pavilions everywhere. Many people buy it to be a pioneer. The same use as me. Thank you for telling me, otherwise I don't know where to ask. Yang Zhao and Miss Ruojuan exchanged a few polite words, and went to Miss Zhao for class in the afternoon. As usual, Miss Zhao explained on the side. Yang Zhao took notes below, and the aunt sat on the side, watching Zhao and not letting her do anything. The three of them performed their duties, and were very harmonious. After she finished learning, she asked the aunt about the book contract. The aunt took a sip of tea and said, the written contract can indeed solve your problem, but you can order a more flexible spiritual contract. Although it is not as binding, you can add conditions and change it at any time. Yang Zhao, thank you for your teachings, aunt. Do you know where to buy spiritual contracts? Aunt, these are usually bought by the pawn shop. The government also sells some, but ordinary people don't want to go to the government, so they go to the pawn shop to buy them. Yang Zhao bid farewell to the two and turned to the pawn shop again. He found that there were many types of written contracts and spiritual contracts here. The clerk asked her about her needs and recommended a pale yellow spiritual contract to her. The main principle of this spiritual contract is the heart-searching spell. This is cheaper, only 3 taels of silver. Generally, unfamiliar merchants choose this kind of spiritual contract when they cooperate for the first time. She selected a few spiritual contracts recommended by the clerk and returned home. Shenroi was playing with his mobile phone in the yard. Wulian Xianzhen, why did you come back just now? Have you eaten? After you finish, practice quickly. This is similar to what Yang Zhao's mother said. After you finish, do your homework quickly. Yang Zhao could only practice first, and then contact Guo Fumin Qiang after washing up. She described the use and function of the spiritual contract, took a photo for him, and sent it to him. After a while, Guo Fumin Qiang, this kind of spiritual contract is a special item. We will give you 100% of the purchasing fee. You buy us 10 more. In 1492, Columbus discovered the New World. Since then, the natives of North America have started hundreds of years of natural disasters, which are cruel and horrible. Even now, racial discrimination in the United States only cares about black people, and never cares about racial discrimination against Native Americans. If you are interested, you can go to Baidu to check, such as their right to vote, such as the fact that the Native Americans were not counted in the number of infections in the United States when the new crown was first discovered. It's really miserable. Chapter 66, Distrust. Yang Zhao understood what the other party meant. The effect of the spiritual contract was all said by herself. They wanted to buy more spiritual contracts to verify and decide the degree of trust in her cooperation in the future. Yang Zhao, I only have 6 in my hand now. I will deliver all 6 to you later. You can choose one to write the contract. Guo Fumin Qiang, okay, 6 is fine. Yang Zhao, then let's start the exchange. Take out 2,000 yuan from the silver given to me to pay the phone bill, and give me the rest of the silver directly. Guo Fumin Qiang, okay, can we trade in an hour? Yang Zhao, no problem. She packed up the books and carefully put the earrings into a small box. Then she sorted out the acupuncture teaching video and sent it to Guo Fumin Qiang. When the time was up, Yang Zhao put the Taoist card on the things to be traded, pinched his hands, and shouted, the sky and the earth are boundless, and the universe is changing. There was only one Taoist card left in front of him. 1 hour and 28 minutes later, a large pile of silver bricks appeared in front of her, 100 grams each, a total of 106 pieces. Then Guo Fumin Qiang agreed on the terms of the spiritual contract with her on the phone, and then signed his own name, Zhang Fuguo. Then Yang Zhao delivered the agreed spiritual contract, and signed his own name. In an instant, the spiritual contract turned into powder, and a red mark appeared on Yang Zhao's wrist. The spiritual contract was reached. She touched the red mark on her wrist, and a sense of sadness came to her heart. She knew that no one on the other side trusted her, and no one would completely trust her. Even her parents and younger brother still doubted her identity. But who can say that their suspicion is wrong? Their family members were lost inexplicably, and they were inexplicably said to have traveled to another world. Who can guarantee that there is no big conspiracy in such absurd things? Who knows if the person who contacted them through the phone is still their relative? Memories can be tortured, and the tone can be pretended. There is even a saying of possession in the world of cultivation. Who knows if the soul under that skin is the same person? So although Yang Yun's words when contacting her also revealed his worry, he would not talk about things that were a little deeper. Her parents never chatted with her, and only asked her to send them a video when they really missed her. But could Yang Zhao blame them for thinking too much? She still had a Fang Shili in her soul, and this fact made her realize that her family's worries were not unreasonable. Besides, Yang Zhao herself was the same. Since she came to this strange world, she has been suspicious of everyone. From the first time she met Fang Shili, who pretended to be Master Gangzhen, to the current Grandmaster Shenroi, no one could make her completely trust him. If it weren't for Leo and Mansion Lord giving the positioning scene and to Shenroi for Safa keeping, Yang Zhao would not consider going with him. If Shenroi hadn't given her the positioning scene in a few days ago, Yang Zhao would not consider practicing the skills he gave her, let alone asking. She was guarding against others, and she couldn't blame others for guarding against her. but she understood it rationally, but she felt wronged emotionally, but it was useless to feel wronged, so she could only think of another way. When blood ties could not maintain this relationship, Yang Zhao chose to bind interests. As long as the interests were the same, she could get the maximum support from the other party, whether it was incense or technology. If she competes with local monks for incense, she will definitely not win, but the incense in her hometown is easy to collect. The key is the large population. The population here is not of the same order of magnitude as that in her hometown. This path of cultivation is too difficult, and she must always find a strong supporter to help her embark on the path. The most important thing now is to gain trust, increase her influence, and then plan for other things. Beep. Guo Fumin Qiang, can you buy that here for me? We will consider it a special item and pay 100% of the purchasing fee. Yang Zhao, no, I only have this one. Maybe I can help you find out, but don't have too high hopes. Guo Fumin Qiang, okay, it depends on your convenience. The purchase of vein leaves can also be put on the agenda. Let's start with a batch of poor quality. Yang Zhao, I will find a seller as soon as possible. These things finally came to an end, and Yang Zhao could take out the evening time to practice magic. The book given by Zhang Sheng recorded more than 20 small spells in total, such as lighting, purification, dust removal, simplified tracking spells, light body spells, etc. Yang Zhao first found a spell to gather water balls, water ball spell, and started to learn it. It said that it would be easier to learn in a place with plenty of water vapor. Huanglangang is located on the seashore, so this spell should be easy to learn. All the hand gestures and spells are to allow the spiritual power to build a stable structure, but these hand gestures are really too finger consuming. Yang Zhao hesitated for a long time before he summoned a small water ball before going to bed. It was just the amount of a mouthful, crystal clear, and finally let her drink it herself. There was no strange smell, just the taste of ordinary water. From then on, Yang Zhao went to Miss Ruojuan's house in the morning every day, and went to Xiaoyu to learn various questions from Guo Fumin Qiang in the afternoon. Of course, these questions were asked to Xiaoyu's aunt, and Xiaoyu basically didn't understand the questions. The evening was her time to practice the exercises and spells. The next morning, Yang Zhao recorded several videos of her practicing small spells, one water ball spell, and one summoning the bright spell. After all, she had learned the summoning the bright spell for a long time, and in the dim room, she could clearly see the light ball rising. She was not very good at water ball technique. It was her first time learning it, so the water ball she cast was very small, but it was so beautiful when the sun shone on it. She edited 2 videos together and posted them online. She hadn't posted videos on time for some time, and sure enough, there were many complaints in the comments section. What's wrong with this blogger? She likes to stand people up. She's not active and making money, and her thinking is wrong. Is there anyone who wants to crowdfund to buy blades? Add me. I'm still a new fan, but it's been discontinued. I'm different. I came to see the various animals, transportation, and flying swords in this video. It's unreasonable. How can a fish carry a person in the sky? It's a special effects video. What's reasonable or unreasonable? Under the comments, fans were bustling and looked full of energy. Now only these silly netizens can soothe her nervous nerves. Finally, half a month later, Xiaoyu's course officially ended. Yang Zhao asked Xiaoyu where to buy vein leaves so that he could buy some. It's a pity that the vein leaves are controlled items to a certain extent. People like her who have no identity background can only buy 5 pieces in a store, and they have to register. I wrote more than 200 pages, and chapter 65 and chapter 66 received the most negative reviews, because many people felt that Yang Zhao asked for too little, and she couldn't handle the big occasion. But she really wanted a lot. Now all trade can only be conducted through her. What she wants is 10% of the trade volume, that is to say, as long as the business is done through her, she wants it. A simple example, if 10% of the trade volume between China and the United States is given to one person alone, will he become the richest man in the world? Not only will he become the richest man in the world, he can even become the king of a country, and many countries will compete for him to be the king. Chapter 67, Special. Yang Zhao turned to contact Guo Fumin Qiang. Yang Zhao, I have purchased 20 vein leaves, and I will send them back this time. What is the standard? Guo Fumin Qiang, you decide. He agreed very readily. Yang Zhao, 10%, but one leaf can open the veins and activate the spirit 8 to 12 times, an average of 10 times. You can do the experiment internally for 1000 yuan each time, but after the expansion, it will be 10,000 yuan per time. No bargaining. Guo Fumin Qiang, this price is not good. We can't allow only certain people to open the veins in the future. Yang Zhao, why think so much? I don't have the ability to buy so many vein leaves. Besides, there are many rich people. What I want is not expensive. I think as long as I can get the opportunity to practice, let alone 10,000 yuan. There are also people who will pay 100,000, 1 million or 10 million yuan. Guo Fumin Qiang, no matter whether you can buy in large quantities in the future, some bottom lines must be set in advance. This is an alternative weapon, but we prohibit guns. It really doesn't make sense, so let's reduce it a little. Yang Zhao, after more than 10,000 people, 5,000 yuan. After more than 100,000 people, I probably won't be needed to buy on your behalf. I don't really need much. This time the other party took a long time to discuss. Guo Fumin Qiang, okay, I'll do as you say. Yang Zhao, I'm going to send these over now. Are you ready? Guo Fumin Qiang, don't worry, although the time is short, we have made a lot of preparations. Yang Zhao looked at the vein leaves in his hand and asked again casually. Yang Zhao, what I mean is that they were dead things in the past, but they are alive this time. Guo Fumin Qiang, please rest assured, I understand what you mean. Yang Zhao took some paper to wrap the leaves, put them away, and made a gesture with his hands. The sky and the earth are boundless, and the universe is changing. Xiaoyang Mountain in Liuxin village. A metal house has been built on the top of the mountain, isolating the teleportation place from the outside. The house is divided into 2 layers, inside and outside. A large paper bag appeared on the ground of the inner layer in an instant. A robot came over, scooped up the paper bag on the ground, put it into a sealed box on the wall, closed it, and sent the sealed box out with a conveyor belt. There were already several fully armed people wearing protective clothing waiting outside. When they saw the sealed box come out, another box was put outside it. Then several people escorted the box to a small dangerous goods transport vehicle, and under the escort of the vehicles next to them, they went down the mountain along the newly built mountain road. There were many busy people on the top of the mountain, and even more busy people halfway up the mountain. Now all the villages near Xiaoyang Mountain have been relocated, and the place less than 10 kilometers away from Xiaoyang Mountain has become a huge construction site. The surface of the mountain next to it looks nothing, but it has actually been hollowed out. Several people entered the mountain and disappeared. I won't say much. From now on, all personnel will live in the institute until we can produce some research results. All water will be treated separately, the biological purification device will be turned on all day, and the disinfection steps for people entering and leaving every day must not be omitted. This is an opportunity, and it is also a biological bomb. Whoever dares to detonate it will be famous in history books, and will be remembered for thousands of years. Dismissed. Yes. After the meeting, the people next to them whispered, does anyone know what we are studying this time? New researchers? Yes, I just came in with the boss yesterday. Our boss studies biology, but I actually saw a few chemistry masters. Are those over there physics masters? And the one walking in front? Since you don't know, just ask randomly. Keep your mouth shut. Your boss can take you instead of anyone else. Hehe, I'm the best math among the graduate students under the boss, so the boss took me. TSK. Huanggang Port. Shenroi knocked on the door outside the house. Have you slept? I have something to tell you. Yang Zhao opened the door and came out. The two sat in the yard. Grandmaster, what's the matter, so late at night? Shenroi, this month will be over in a few days. You should concentrate on your cultivation. It's best to quit Miss Ruojuan's job. Yang Zhao was shocked. She had forgotten about this matter. In fact, there are only 12 days until the 5th of next month. The monthly competition is coming soon. Miss Ruojuan will take the exam in less than a month. How can I resign from her now? Besides, I don't plan to win this competition. I went into wear down and suppress Fang Shili. Shenryu turned the 2 taels of silver in his hand. Yang Zhao asked curiously, Grandmaster, didn't you have 3 taels of silver? How come you only have 2 taels now? Shenryu, I bought an umbrella. You just need to know what to do in this competition. Your cultivation is still shallow and your soul is still weak. It is not advisable to learn soul-related spells and summon soul-related weapons too early, otherwise it will affect your future cultivation foundation. Yang Zhao nodded and said, Grandmaster, I understand. Shenryu glanced at her and said, you don't understand. You have to win this time. Do you understand how much you have to win? From your previous description, those kids are the same as you. The essence of their souls has not changed. Your soul foundations are similar. You can't learn the martial arts now, but Fang Shili lives in your soul land. This is your advantage. When you fight with him, the soul power he consumes will be replenished in your soul. After you go in this time, you fight with him first. It seems that Yang Zhao still hasn't gotten round to it. I can't possibly beat those kids from wealthy families in a fight. Shenryu said, if nothing unexpected happens, you will be stronger than at least 20% to 30% of those who go in. So you have to find ways to win. The more you win, the more their soul power can be replenished for you. This is a game where the more you win, the stronger you become. Yang Zhao grinned. How could she, a lazy female college student living in peacetime who only cared about food, be a match for those people who had been learning martial arts since childhood? Daozu, you said in vain, that fighting depends on skills. How can a layman like me beat him? Shenryu was a little disappointed and said, then you can defeat 10 skills with 1 force. If you don't fight hard at this time, when will you fight? Do you think the power of the soul is so easy to enhance? How many bites of this pie you can eat depends on whether you are willing to fight hard. This kid seems to have a stupid brain. Okay, I will definitely find ways to win. That means trying my best. Yes, try my best. Shenryu went back to the house. Yang Zhao was thinking about whether to make 2 silver walnuts for the master. It would be face saving to turn them in his hands. 2 taels of silver looked too shabby. This made Yang Zhao feel that he was withholding the other party's salary. He wanted to hang a street lamp. Today's update, I will learn how others write fighting scenes. I'm not good at this, and my writing is not good. Chapter 68, Block Game. Yang Zhao first sent a message to Guo Fumin Qiang asking for help, asking if there were any quick learning martial arts, preferably without much technical content. After a while, Guo Fumin Qiang sent her a lot of videos, which looked simple and practical. She decided to take these videos to ask her master tomorrow if it was easy to learn. Yang Zhao has experience in this regard, that is, never trust your own vision. Teikai was also very simple to watch in college, and many students took Teikai as an elective, resulting in 100 flowers blooming and a group of demons dancing. After leaving Miss Ruojuan's house at noon, Yang Zhao went to the gold and silver shop. Under the generous introduction of the second brother, she bought a pair of solid silver snails, which were exquisitely made and had rounded corners, just suitable for health preservation. But ghosts use health preservation? This pair of silver snails cost 26 taels of silver, and the silver used weighed 16 or 17 taels, which was very heavy in the hand. The second brother also matched a very beautiful brocade box with red silk inside. Yang Zhao returned home excitedly and gave the pair of silver snails to Shenryu. Oh, you are so generous today. Why did you think of giving me this? Yang Zhao, I saw that you have nothing to do these days, so I bought this pair for you to play with. When I have money, I will change it into 2 gold ones for you. Shenryu took a pair of silver conches in one hand and turned them. The sound was crisp and pleasant. As expected, the sound of silver is beautiful. Tell me what's the matter? You didn't come to me if there was nothing. This made her feel a little embarrassed, but she couldn't admit it. How can you wrongly accuse me? I just have a few martial arts videos that I want you to watch, nothing else. As he said that, he transferred the mobile phone video to Shenryu's mobile phone through Bluetooth. The master looked through all of them and shook his head. None of them are suitable. You are very familiar with the meridians and acupoints of the human body, right? Yang Zhao nodded. Shenryu, the other party knows you very well, and they have found some small skills for you. Some of them are specifically for hitting people's acupuncture points and meridians, but they are not suitable for you. Others are techniques for quick killing. These movements look simple, but they require high explosive power and strong reaction ability. Can you react? Yang Zhao shook her head. She had a very clear understanding of herself in terms of physical strength. The soul has no meridians and acupuncture points, and explosive power and reaction ability cannot be trained overnight. Yang Zhao went back to the house to ask Guo Fuminqiang. Guo Fuminqiang, how about I give you some contraband? I have it at hand now, and I can give it to you now. Yang Zhao looked at it, and licked his teeth, and then politely refused. This contraband cannot be brought into the land of souls, so it is useless in the big competition. Besides, this thing cannot be played in public. Shenryu said that the ancestral precepts must not be passed on gunpowder, so can firearms and ammunition be used. She ran out and looked at Shenryu with a sad face. You can't just let me wait. Shenryu took a chair from his room and sat in the corner of the yard. Then practice how to get hit. Huh. Shenryu took out a handful of small wooden blocks and showed them to Yang Zhao. They were all in sections, 2 or 3 centimeters long, and there were nearly 30 of them in this handful. I picked up some driftwood outside this morning, specifically to train you. Stand in the middle of the yard. Master, does it hurt? How can you learn your lesson if it doesn't hurt at all? Yang Zhao moved to the center of the yard and stared at the wooden blocks nervously. Shenryu raised his hand casually, and all the wooden blocks floated in the air. Open your eyes wide, stand up your ears, and keep your skin tight. Focus all your attention. Start. Shenryu raised his phone and started recording a video. The small wooden blocks came crashing over with the sound of the wind. Snap. Grandmaster, my dear Grandmaster, please slow down. Is this fast? If you run, can you move your legs a little? Yang Zhao grinned at the small wooden blocks floating around and attacking. She had no idea what to do, and subconsciously raised her arms to cover her eyes. I won't attack your eyes. Let them show. If I don't watch carefully, how can you hide? Yang Zhao put his arms down, but the situation did not get better. She clearly saw it with her eyes and her brain decided to hide, but her body was always one step behind her brain, and could not keep up. What does it look like to bully a weakling? This is it. Yang Zhao, who was jumping around the yard, was like a bloated gorilla, not flexible at all. Grandmaster, you have to do it step by step. Give me a period of adaptation. Start with the slowest one first. Shenryu hooked her finger, and the wooden blocks flying in the sky stopped attacking her. Didn't your teacher teach you the 8 diagram 7-star steps? Follow that step. Yang Zhao took this opportunity to rub the place on his body that was it. I only know how to raise spirits, and I haven't practiced anything else. For a college student like her, she won't spend time thinking about things that are not good for future employment. Wouldn't it be better to watch a video at that time? For a half-baked cultivator like her, what she is thinking about is learning some magical methods of Islam, the true teachings of Taoism, and how to call the wind and rain and turn stones into gold. She has never thought about practicing martial arts. After coming here, she always thought that she would become a mage and output in the back. She didn't expect that a mage would also practice warrior skills. Shenryu, TSK, okay, I'll do it one by one. The speed of the wooden block did not change, but the number of attacks was reduced to 1 back and forth. With this small wooden block, Yang Zhao had a hard time parrying it. He could dodge 2 of the 3 attacks, and the remaining one hit him solidly. I asked you to walk the bag-wikixing step, not because this step is so good, but because you have a rule to follow when you turn around and move, so that you don't get anxious and your legs fight. Keep your feet steady. Yang Zhao hurriedly adjusted his steps, and this time he was hit even more. Don't just focus on your feet, you have to keep your eyes open too. Yang Zhao's physical strength couldn't keep up, and he basically practiced for half an hour and rested for 20 minutes. It was not until before dinner that he could dodge 4 out of 5 attacks. To be honest, if this happened in school, Yang Zhao could report Shenryu for abusing students. 1 report and 1 hit. Yang Zhao was so angry that he entered a wooden block game without taking a break after dinner. He didn't stop until it was dark and the small wooden blocks were no longer visible. Shenryu turned 2 silver conches and was very satisfied with Yang Zhao's attitude towards learning. If you want to be respected in front of others, you must suffer behind their backs. Go back to your room and take a hot bath. Don't forget to practice. Thank you for your guidance, master. I'm sorry to bother you for half a day. Yang Zhao was soaking in the bathtub. She felt that all the muscles in her body were trembling. The bruises on her body did not look good. After taking a bath, she went to the yard to practice the 3 pure ones and the true Yang Sutra. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, Thunder. For the next 10 days, Yang Zhao played the wooden block game. She was as tired as a dog every day, with bruises all over her body. If it weren't for the support of the 3 purities and the orthodox Yang meridians, her muscles would have almost dissolved. However, her limbs were indeed much more flexible. With the increasingly proficient 7-star bag with steps, she was beaten less often now. Since Shenryu recorded training videos for her every day, Yang Zhao simply sorted them out and posted them online. Unexpectedly, the response in the comment section was not bad. At first, everyone laughed at her simple limbs, and some people speculated that they were preparing to enter the film and television industry. Because the protagonist of the videos for more than 10 consecutive days was Yang Zhao, and the content of the videos was the same. But slowly the comments changed. This young lady is so pretty. Are you dating? Don't be so specific about the gender. Wife, you've worked hard these days. But I don't want to watch the same video every day. Bloggers don't want to post spam videos. I want to see a natural disaster destroy the world. I want to see Star Wars. I want to see mechas play against each other. I want to see big productions. People up there, watch the video carefully. Look at the special effects in detail. Look at the natural reaction of the human body when the wood hits her. Look at the angle at which the wood bounces off the body. And also look at the purple makeup effect on the young lady's face. You never miss it. This blogger is definitely a detail freak. If I doubt this is true, will it make me look stupid? Yang Zhao commented below with a hint of impulsiveness. This is true. Asterisk. 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 After turning off her phone and charging it, she began to think about what Shenryu had just told her. If you can hide, hide. If you can't hide, don't fight hard. Once you get the chance, bite the opponent to death. You have no foundation, and you have less than 10 years of training time than them. You have to be fierce to fight them. First, show your determination. Those who are not mentally trained will naturally be afraid and will be timid when facing you. She understood what Shenryu meant. The arrogant are afraid of the stupid, and the stupid are afraid of the desperate. He asked Yang Zhao to be desperate. She packed her things, with her hair under the important items, and then lay on the bed waiting for the time to come. But the waiting time was a bit long, and she fell asleep. If Fang Shili hadn't hit her hard, she wouldn't have reacted and entered the Soul Land. Yang Zhao looked at the branch on his chest, and opened his mouth to shout, "Wind, cut it off." Crack. The branch broke. Yang Zhao quickly retreated, and kept a distance. Fire. A circle of fire burned along the branch towards Fang Shili. Fang Shili's body suddenly showed green light, suppressing the flames. Wait, don't start shouting and killing right away. Yang Zhao, I don't understand. We are old acquaintances. You are a cautious person. How come you are so reckless? Yang Zhao reached out and pulled out the branch stuck in his body and threw it to the ground with a mocking look on his face. Because I know that the old man who is not dead is a thief. I'm not smart, and I will easily fall into your trap if I talk to you too much. Fire. Burn him. Fang Shili was furious. You arrogant bitch. He waved the branch and hit him, and he didn't even need the large-scale map clearing skills like last time. Yang Zhao couldn't beat him in fists and feet, and he was hit several times while dodging left and right. This time, there was no red light interference from Rang Sheng and the others' fight, and Fang Shili was obviously more than one level stronger. Yang Zhao found that the flames he attracted had no big effect on him. If he wanted to control him, he would be immediately freed. Thinking of Shenroi fighting with Fang Shili, Fang Shili was very afraid of thunder and lightning, so she decided to give it a try. Taking advantage of the moment when Fang Shili knocked her away again, Yang Zhao summoned wind to blow on himself and moved back a distance. Trap him. Thunder. Drop. Crack. A bolt of lightning fell from the sky and struck Fang Shili right on the spot. At such a close distance, she had no chance to react. 10,000 silver snakes sprang up from him, and flames ignited. Yang Zhao saw that this move was effective, and he kept opening his mouth. Thunder. Crack. Thunder. Crack. Thunder. After a long while, seeing that Fang Shili was no longer moving, Yang Zhao struck a few more times before stopping. Immobilize him. Yang Zhao circled around Fang Shili from a distance, summoned wind blades, cut off the longest and thickest branch from his body, and struck him hard with lightning several times, and then dared to run over carefully to pick up the branch. Whack. A branch nailed Yang Zhao, and even though he was careful, he was still caught. Thunder. Crack. As she was tied to the tree branch, she was also electrocuted. She quickly summoned the wind to cut off the branch, summoning thunder while running away. Yang Zhao criticized for a long time without giving up, and found that, although Fang Shili was motionless, he did not look dead. His gloomy eyes kept staring at her, which made people feel cold. But she didn't have time to dawdle with Fang Shili here. While fixing him and summoning thunder, she looked for an exit. Before entering the corridor, Yang Zhao summoned fire to ignite one end of the branch in her hand, and then left. The corridor was still so long. When she arrived, the hall was already bustling with two groups of people. One side was led by Zhang Yan, and the other side was led by a young man. The two groups didn't like each other, and were bickering with each other. It seemed that Yang Zhao was still late. Now that everyone is here, I will host the first round of the competition. The rules this time are that two people will fight against each other. The winner can continue to challenge the winner, and the loser will withdraw from the competition. Start now. Yang Zhao recognized that this was Zhang Sheng's voice, but the rules of the competition were too simple. The two groups of boys and girls did not expect the rules to be so simple and crude, and no one took the initiative to fight for a while. Seeing that no one moved, Zhang Sheng had to call the names himself. Zhang Yan vs. Zhu Han. Yes, the two boys did not hesitate, and they fought each other as soon as they left the team. The rest did not need Zhang Sheng to call the names again, and they started fighting against each other in pairs. Yang Zhao took a look and found a boy with a burning stick and hit him. The boy was obviously surprised and shouted, "Senior Zhang, how can she have a weapon? And it's on fire?" This shout made Yang Zhao dare not move rashly, and turned his head to look at Zhang Sheng. Zhang Sheng glanced at her and said kindly, "This is not a violation. If you have a weapon, you can take it out." Obviously, he didn't care about these things at all. It didn't matter to him who won or lost. Yang Zhao and the boy looked at each other. The boy was a little reluctant, but still attacked. Yang Zhao was okay at dodging now, but there was no routine with the branch in her hand. She just held the branch with both hands and waved it randomly, like beating a dog. But this also took a big advantage. The boy basically couldn't get close to her. The boy was very frustrated in this battle. Why have I updated less in the past 2 days? Didn't I go to watch the Masters? I was fascinated by it. Open bracket close bracket. Chapter 70. First time. Yang Zhao and him tested each other for a few rounds, and the opponent also realized that Yang Zhao's skills were not good, so he rushed forward and started to grab the branch. Fire. She wanted to try to make the opponent's body on fire, but there was no reaction at all. Instead, the flame of the branch in her hand suddenly increased a little, and the opponent was accidentally licked by the flame, and dodged and stepped back a few steps. This branch is not from your body? No wonder you don't feel bad when it burns like this. I always thought you were a tree demon, but I didn't expect you to be a human. Without waiting for Yang Zhao to speak, he rushed directly into Yang Zhao's arms. Yang Zhao could only dodge to the side quickly, and swung the branch. Whoosh. The opponent bent down to avoid the branch, stood up and stuck to her arm. Yang Zhao was unable to dodge and was hit directly. The severe pain swept through her entire arm, and the branch fell off in an instant. But she didn't care about the pain, and turned around and kicked the opponent's lower body. This action obviously scared the boy, and he jumped 3 feet away. His face turned blue. "I see you are a woman. How can you be so shameless? You are not from a well-behaved family." The people fighting nearby looked over in surprise. Yang Zhao also blushed a little, rushed to pick up the branch, and retreated to the original place. Fire. The branch that was about to go out was on fire again. She had no choice. She didn't know many moves, so she could only use whatever was lethal. At this time, the boy was stiffened by the people around him, and roared and rushed over again. This time the opponent hit very fiercely. Yang Zhao retreated again and again, but there were still times when she couldn't dodge in time, and she was hit hard a few times, and she trembled in pain. But this time she remembered the lesson from last time, holding the branch and refusing to let go. The boy attacked anxiously, and it was inevitable that he would reveal a flaw. When he hit him head on again, Yang Zhao moved the branch back, held her hands to the place where the fire was burning, and imitated his posture, and ran into his arms, and the branch in her hand fiercely stabbed into his chest. Fire. Whoosh. It was just a small seedling of fire that burned on him all of a sudden. Yang Zhao stepped back, slapping the flames off his body. "Ah, you ignorant pariah." The other fell to the ground, rolling back and forth, trying to put out the fire. Yang Zhao wins. Zhang Sheng spoke lightly, and with a wave of his hand, he put out the flames on the boy. The boy was furious, and as soon as the fire on his body was extinguished, he got up from the ground and wanted to rush over to fight Yang Zhao to the death. The loser is not allowed to continue to challenge. The boy froze in place, as if he was under a spell. Yang Zhao clasped his fists towards Zhang Sheng, and then looked for the next one. In fact, it was obvious who was strong and who was weak here. She didn't dare to look for those who were calm and at ease, but only those who were nervous and exhausted. It was accurate to say that she was bullying the weak and afraid of the strong. However, these boys and girls had the same idea as Yang Zhao, and she was knocked out by a punch before she won a few times. Yang Zhao squatted by the wall, panting, and drew on the ground with a branch in her hand. She looked around and found that there were several pairs that had not yet decided the winner, including Zhang Yan's group. It seemed that the real top-level fighting power was digesting each other and did not come to the low-level field to fry fish. To be honest, this kind of fist-to-flesh fight is really exciting, and it makes people's blood boil. She leaned against the wall to rest and watched the excitement for a while, then got up and walked back along the corridor with a branch. There was another Fang Shili in the Soul Land, and she had to chop him a few more times before she went out. Yang Zhao found that her strength was indeed much greater than those who had fought with her. Her cultivation was shallow and could not compare with the other party. It seemed that the reason why she was able to win a few times was really due to the replenishment of Fang Shila's soul. Yang Zhao went back and fought with him again until she was kicked out of the Soul Land. This fight took about 2 hours, which was not a long time, but it was really tiring. Yang Zhao did not get out of bed, pulled up the quilt and fell asleep. When he woke up, the sky outside had dimmed. Yang Zhao ate a little and got up to look for Shenryu. The master was playing with his phone in the yard. When he saw her coming out, he asked casually, "You look good. Have you taken the pill for recuperating your soul?" Yang Zhao shook her head. "Medicine is 3-point poison. She never took medicine when she was not sick. Take it. This time is just right. After you take the pill, practice directly to dissolve the medicine." Yang Zhao nodded, took a bowl of water, took out a pill for recuperating the soul, and swallowed it with the water. Then, she stood in the middle of the yard and practiced the 3 pure and other yang meridians. During the practice, she felt a stream of warm and cool air rising from her abdomen, going straight into her mind, and she felt refreshed and sober all of a sudden. While feeling this strange feeling, Yang Zhao thought to herself, although this is a low-level pill, the effect is really good. It seems that I have to buy another bottle. After she finished practicing, Shenryu asked about the process of the competition and was satisfied with her winning rate. Not bad, not bad. Although your foundation is weak, you are calm, not too obsessed with failure, can endure pain, and are willing to fight hard. As long as you keep up, it will be beneficial for your future practice. Yang Zhao, thank you for the teachings, Master. Will you continue to practice the wooden block game in the future? Shenroi turned the silver conch in her hand. Practice. Practice every day in the future. Think about what weapon you want to learn. I will teach you. Although Yang Zhao had seen Fang Shili and the Lord of Kangcheng fight with weapons, and the boys and girls in the competition were all good at boxing and kicking, they should not be bad at weapons, but she herself had never considered what to learn. Grandmaster, I know nothing about weapons. If you ask me to make a decision now, I can't think of it either. But Grandmaster, I'm very curious, why do cultivators have to learn mundane martial arts? Wouldn't it be better to practice more magic with this time? Shenroi looked at Yang Zhao and asked seriously, do you think the action of chopping down is faster, or the action of pinching the magic formula is faster? Yang Zhao suddenly realized that it was like your skill was still counting down, and the opponent had already taken a turn to chop you with a knife, so you naturally couldn't beat him. Grandmaster, I understand. Can I learn thunder magic from you? Shenroi raised an eyebrow and said, you want to learn it, because you see that I use it fast? Yang Zhao nodded. Of course, no matter how fast you swing your knife, is it faster than thunder and lightning? Why was Fang Shili beaten by her this time? It was because the time for the thunder and lightning to reach him was no more than milliseconds. Don't think it's easy for me to use it, but it took me decades of practice. And when you first learn thunder magic, you will often get struck by lightning. When your cultivation level reaches 2 levels and you can withstand thunder and lightning, I will teach you. Yang Zhao was overjoyed. Thank you, Master. Chapter 71, The Imperial College Examination. In the following days, Yang Zhao's main focus was on Miss Ruojuan's exam. Miss Ruojuan was working hard on the questions, and Yang Zhao followed her to check for omissions and make up for them, and to give her the exam papers. He also encouraged her to not be too nervous. Everyone in the huge mansion held their breath and worked carefully, for fear of making a little noise and affecting the 2 candidates. At the same time, other courses began to squeeze the time of arithmetic classes, leaving her only 1 hour of class every day. As we all know, students preparing for the college entrance examination are tired, and teachers are not relaxed either. Yang Zhao has been feeling anxious these days and wants to pull her hair. Finally, the day of the exam came. She got up early and went to the government school with her school bag and mobile phone. When she arrived, she realized that she was still late. There were no less than thousands of people crowded in front of the gate of the government school, shoulder to shoulder, and noisy. Yang Zhao originally wanted to take a good position to send Miss Ruojuan to the exam. After all, Miss Ruojuan was his first student to take the college entrance examination. If she hadn't come here, she should be an English teacher now. As a result, she had to give up this plan when she saw the streets were packed with people. Parents all over the world are the same, even in the world of cultivation. Yang Zhao looked around and wanted to find a taller tea house or tavern, but she didn't expect that there were too many people and there was no room in these places. She could only find a relatively tall tree and climb up to find a good angle to take pictures of this spectacular scene. After waiting for a while, the government school opened the door and 3 middle-aged people, 2 women and 1 man, walked out. One of the middle-aged women with wolf ears coughed and said, "All candidates are entering. Please make way for the main passage." The voice echoed throughout the government school. Then, with a flick of her sleeves, a small disc flew out and spun in the air. There was no dazzling magic light, but the crowd below was like Moses splitting the sea, and a passage was squeezed out. The candidates who took the exam all had a faint glow on their bodies. Miss Ruojuan told Yang Zhao that this was the identification formation that came with the candidate's exam card. Some of these candidates walked directly into the passage, while others were at the back and could not squeeze through, so they had to fly into the passage. They moved quickly, and Yang Zhao saw Miss Ruojuan in a short while. When all the candidates entered the government school, the middle-aged beautiful woman said lightly, "We are going to set up a silent formation. Please get out of the way." The other 2 flew into the sky with the wolf-eared beautiful woman and dropped dozens of formation flags from their sleeves. do, 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 do. The flags were inserted in a circle around the government school, and then a green light flashed and stopped. No one is allowed to move this silent formation privately. If anyone violates it, the government school will report it to the government and punish them severely. This sentence was a bit threatening, but the parents who were sending their children to the exam agreed and responded to the middle-aged wolf-eared beautiful woman. "Don't worry, sir. I'll watch over this flag for you and never let anyone touch it." "That's right. Don't worry. I won't let those heartless people ruin the exam." "Thank you very much. I hope all the students can get what they want and be admitted to the prefectural school." After that, the three of them bowed to everyone and walked into the gate together. It was not until the gate of the prefectural school was completely closed that many vendors selling things appeared nearby. Some carried shoulder poles, some pushed carts, and some held a flying long stick with densely packed lucky bags hanging on it, hanging down for more than 2 meters. Although there were many vendors, they would not shout loudly, but carried tall signs with big characters written on them, so that people in the distance could see clearly what they were selling. Yang Zhao was more interested in the flying ones in the sky and took more pictures. At this time, the crowd below had dispersed a little, and Yang Zhao also followed the crowd and returned home. Miss Ruojuan had talked to her before. This exam will take 3 days, and the first 2 days are written answers. The third day was exciting. Those who wanted to take the array master exam had to set up the array on the spot. Those who wanted to learn to refine instruments had to identify various refining materials on the spot. Those who wanted to learn magic spells had to pinch the designated spells on the spot. There were even those with extraordinary minds who would take the array plate, magic instruments, etc. they created to demonstrate to the gentleman in order to gain extra points. It is said that many students from poor families would sell their own inventions after the demonstration to make a fortune. This is what Yang Zhao was eyeing. She wanted to buy some of the small things they invented from the candidates to see if they could be processed with modern technology, even if it was a semi-finished product. Only these penniless students would be happy that their inventions were favored by others and had the possibility of being put into production. As long as they were paid, they would patiently explain every step of the production clearly. Although these things are always imperfect, and local people would sneer at these rough creations, Yang Zhao did not dislike them. This is much better than the existing finished products. After all, no one will teach you how to make finished magic instruments. When she got home, Shenryu had actually come back. She was playing with her phone in the yard. Seeing Yang Zhao coming back, she asked her to sit over. "Today is the re-entry exam. Are there many people?" "Yang Zhao, there were really huge crowds of people, gongs, and drums." "Oh, no, I just said it casually." Shenryu looked at her and asked, "Do you also want to go to the provincial school?" "I have some thoughts about this, but I'm not a person with a very high IQ. I will definitely not pass the entrance exam without 2 years of preparation." Yang Zhao still has this self-awareness. You are not from this world, and you are not qualified to enter the provincial school. If it were a few hundred years ago, you could still go to various provincial schools to exchange Taoism as Yunyang Temple, but now that Yunyang Temple has declined, you can no longer go. Shenryu looked very depressed. Yang Zhao asked in confusion, "Is there still a household registration issue? If I join the local household registration, can I go?" Shenryu shook her head. "All people from other worlds cannot study in the government academy. There are many confidential things in it. How can we let outsiders learn it? Except for some things that are common to all worlds, those that are unique to the local area cannot be leaked. This is actually a knowledge blockade of another world." Yang Zhao had a headache just thinking about it. "Master, how many professional skills of cultivation, such as magic weapons and elixirs, do you know?" Shenryu looked at her as if she was looking at a fool. "Didn't you see that I, the Taoist master, am proficient in thunder magic? I also taught you the 3 pure ones pure yang sutra. I'm a martial Taoist. Generally, Taoists are divided into civil and martial arts, and martial Taoists tend to worship the 3 pure ones and the 3 officials. The implication is that he doesn't know anything else and can only fight." Chapter 72, Land of Clan Soul. Hearing this, Yang Zhao asked with some reluctance, is there a place where I can buy these things? Yes, but they are all elementary things, such as the spell book given by the clan in your hand, but advanced ones are impossible to appear. Why, you don't want to be a martial artist? Shenroi frowned. Yang Zhao, that's not what I meant. It's just that the way of cultivation in China is declining now, not to mention these formations, elixirs and the like. I just want to learn about them. Shenroi looked at the sky with a depressed look and sighed quietly. Alas, I didn't expect the way of cultivation to fall to this point. We all guessed that it would be very difficult to cultivate in the future, but we didn't expect that this road would be cut off now. He turned to Yang Zhao and said, you have to practice well, and then go to the land of clan souls. Our advanced skills are all there, and they should not be cut off. Yang Zhao was completely surprised this time. Could this land of clan souls actually have such a wonderful use? Master, I was competing in someone else's clan soul land a few days ago, and I didn't see these collections inside. TSK, otherwise why would I be so lazy to accept disciples? It's really tiring. Shenroi briefly introduced the mystery, and then walked out quickly with his mobile phone. It turns out that the clan soul land is the crystallization of a race's civilization. The longer the ethnic development time, the larger the clan soul land. Those histories and knowledge that affect the fate of the race will be left in it, forming the murals that Yang Zhao saw last time. Those children of the big families fight for other people's clan soul lands, and they are interested in the knowledge left in it, the civilization history of a race. This is a huge fortune. And the reason why the other party is willing to let others fight for their own clan soul land is also a helpless way. Generally, this happens when the ethnic civilization is about to perish, or has already perished. At this time, the clan soul land still stands there temporarily with the inertia of time. But if they don't find a way to continue it, then their civilization will be a small wave in the long river of time. Once the water rushes, no trace will be left. This is too sad for any civilization. So they can only insert their own civilization into other people's civilization, and continue their own civilization with the help of outsiders. This is a kind of compromise that has to be made, and there is a faint sense of tragedy. Time is the most ruthless. It only needs to go slowly, to smooth out many things. Yang Zhao sorted out the information she heard today and couldn't help but have a headache. It seems that she should pay more attention to the exam on the third day. This is the easiest thing for her to get at present. In addition, she has to think about the battle for the clan soul land. First of all, they have signed an agreement. Yang Zhao is an outsider who broke in by mistake. She is an outsider. If she gets a little benefit from the soul, others will ignore her. If she wants to take the lead and rob this clan soul land, then she can only choose a way to die. She also wants to rebuild a teleportation formation, so she can't die like this. Although she knows the importance of things in her heart, Yang Zhao still has bleeding in her heart. It seems that she will have to observe the clan soul land carefully on the 5th of next month. Yang Zhao, the cat, went into the house, edited the video shot today, and sent it to the internet. Just opened the comment area, and found that my last video went viral. Many people came here to watch it. It is said that there are many action bloggers who imitated her videos of dodging small wooden blocks. After all, special effects are fake, but people's dodging movements are real. From rookie to veteran, you can see the progress of the blogger in each video, which really makes people excited. I said, is this blogger fast forwarding? It's fast forwarding at a glance. She should be walking around on the ground, and then adding those small wooden blocks in the later stage. Am I the only one who suspects that this person is fake? The above person, I also suspect it. Which special effects company can make such a person? This is a real person. Whether it is a real person or not, the lady is really handsome. I want to worship the blogger as my teacher. I want to cultivate immortality with you at YUNYANGGUAN Yang Zhao. Please accept me as your disciple. I said directly, hi, husband. Yang Zhao flipped through her homepage again, and found that this video actually increased her fans by nearly 100,000. She now has 200,000 fans. She hid in the quilt and carefully observed the Wenwang Bagua behind the Taoist card. Every time she updated the video and contacted the other party, the incense would decrease a little. But this time was different. She uploaded a whole video, and the incense did not decrease. Yang Zhao rolled on the bed excitedly for a few times, and the heaviest stone hanging in his heart was put down. The idea of using videos to gather incense is okay. It's just that the account fans don't have much loyalty, and the incense that each person can give is too little. But China now has a large population base. Digital media is developing very rapidly. Digital network infrastructure is further improved, and the market is sinking rapidly, grabbing more population. Even if a person gives less, but after multiplying by the number of people, this number becomes terrible. And Yang Zhao firmly believes that in the future, when more and more people believe that she is practicing in another world, the incense that person can provide will definitely go up a few levels. Everyone in this world is afraid of death, and just the one that prolongs life can make the world crazy. Beep. Yang Zhao picked up his mobile phone and saw that it was a message from Guo Fuminamum Kyang. Guo Fuminamum Kyang, Comrade Yang Zhao, are you free? Yang Zhao, just tell me what you want to say. Guo Fuminamum Kyang, we want to do an experiment on opening the meridians, but no one has spiritual power, so we can't activate the meridians at all. Do you have any good ideas? She had known that this problem would arise, but since the other party hadn't taken the initiative to seek her help, she wouldn't say it. Yang Zhao, you want me to ask Uncle Gongsun for you? How can I have such a big face? Guo Fumin Qiang, I admit that this is a little difficult, but you can put forward any conditions. We will meet them within the principles. Yang Zhao tapped his fingers boredly. What conditions should I put forward? Uncle Gongsun is helping you, so naturally he is the one to put forward the conditions. Guo Fumin Qiang, but your Uncle Gongsun didn't discuss this with us at all. Yang Zhao, that's because you are not sincere enough. Guo Fumin Qiang, please speak frankly. Yang Zhao, Uncle Gongsun is a deity of Yunnyang Temple, and Yunnyang Temple is now dwindling in population. I'm the only registered disciple. Guo Fumin Qiang, thank you for your advice. I owe you a favor. How cunning, a collective benefit, but an individual owes a favor. But she didn't pursue these, but sent the message again, repeatedly emphasizing the key points of opening the meridians. Chapter 73, the final exam is over. The days passed quickly, and it was already the third day of the Fuxu exam. Yang Zhao climbed to the top of a big tree early. Many of today's exams were held outdoors, so there were many people standing on high places, or flying up to the sky to watch. Yang Zhao adjusted the angle of her phone to ensure that the pictures taken were clear, and not blocked by debris. Just a few minutes after she came up, more people climbed up the tree. The tree, which was not too thick, was shaky under the pressure of several people, but it did not break. Yang Zhao stood on it with fear and wanted to go down, but she was reluctant to give up such a good position. Looking at the bustling crowd below, she decided to stay here. In the Fuxu, all the candidates had gathered, and the teachers who taught mathematics had flown into the air to get a more comprehensive invigilation angle. She had a toothache watching from outside, so that she could see every little movement of the candidates below clearly, which was more stressful than surveillance. Because there was a silent formation around the Fuxu, the sound inside could not be transmitted at all. Yang Zhao only saw that the candidates in the southeast had changed first. Rows of candidates were making hand gestures. Although the movements were not uniform, thousands of people were making the same gestures and doing the same movements. The scene was spectacular. She saw that the movements of the candidates' hands were familiar. After carefully identifying them, she realized that they were the gestures of the water bowl technique. The benefits of the 3 pure yang meridians have not yet been reflected, but the benefits to the eyes have been fully revealed. In the past, Yang Zhao could never see so clearly at a distance of nearly 400 meters. Now she could actually distinguish the movements of those people's hands. After the candidates made hand gestures, some shiny things flew around them. They should be small water balls. Some of these water balls were big, some were small, but they all floated around the candidates. Under the sunlight, they sparkled with crystal light, which was very beautiful. Then, these small water balls began to move along the same track. Some small water balls fell to the ground after just a few moves, while some small water balls grew bigger and bigger, forcing other candidates to stay away from these people, fearing that their water balls would be swallowed by these big water balls. She even saw several candidates showing off their skills by shaping their big water balls into the shape of animals, jumping up and down there with vivid movements. Yang Zhao was greatly enlightened when he saw it from outside. He was also practicing small water ball spells now, but he was definitely not as skilled and controlled as they were. There are always people who are better than you, and there are always gods behind you. At this time, the southwest corner also changed. I saw those candidates holding the formation flags distributed by the teacher, setting up the formation as required, and then pinching the formula to activate the formation. Thousands of light blue formations appeared in the sky above the southwest corner of this room, attracting the surrounding spiritual power to agitate, and forming one whirlwind after another on the formation. Soon, a weak whirlwind was swept into the other whirlwinds, which was even more embarrassing than taking the water ball test. Water ball magic is a magic spell, and the person who casts it can dodge outward, but the formation is now fixed in one place and cannot be moved at will, so they can only wait there and let others slaughter them. The ability of the candidates is clear at a glance. In the end, there were only 7 big whirlwinds left in the air. Compared with the excitement of these two places, other places are much quieter. There are 2 groups of people identifying things, but one side is plants and animals, and the other side is metal minerals. These 2 places do not have dazzling light and shadow, so they are naturally not conspicuous. As for the candidates with fewer people in other directions, because their movements are too small, Yang Zhao is not familiar with them, and he can't understand what they are testing. According to the chat with other people on the same tree, some of those who can take the exam in the house are now in the house, and people outside can't see them at all. For example, those candidates who specialize in talisman exams. But when half of the time passed, those candidates who wrote talismans in the house walked out of the house to the open space and threw the talismans in their hands into the sky. Yang Zhao didn't recognize those talismans, but he thought the colors of the explosions were like fireworks. The spell and formation exams ended relatively early, and the refining and alchemy exams were delayed to the end, and the other subjects were not conspicuous in the middle. This year, the formation subject of the prefectural school can produce a few more good seedlings. That's right, there weren't so many top students in previous years, and it was good enough to have 3 or 4 people who crushed the whole field. The spells look good to me too. Look at those animals made of water. There are many more than last year. Last year, there was a candidate who turned a water ball into an animal, and the final result was good. This year's candidates followed suit. I just don't know the test results of my child. The person who said this was a middle-aged man, who was nervous but also complacent. Oh, your child is actually taking the exam here? Congratulations. What else is there to be happy about? It's not certain whether he can pass the math exam. The middle-aged man looked even more proud. It's not easy for your child to take the exam here. Everyone in the tree complimented him. After all the exams were over, the gate of the prefectural school opened, and the teachers of each subject led the candidates out of the gate. Parents also waved their hands vigorously on both sides to attract their children's attention. Most of the people left at once. After all the candidates in the yard came out, the middle-aged beautiful woman with wolf ears who came out to set up the formation on the first day flew up. This time, a total of 32 candidates brought their own creations and inventions, and 24 of them agreed to sell their inventions, including self-created formations, talismans, magic tools, etc. Those who are interested can come to the prefectural school after lunch today to register and buy. Yang Zhao was waiting for this news. He came down from the tree in a flash and went home to find Shen Ruoyu. Master, the prefectural school will sell things created by candidates this afternoon. Are you interested in going to watch the fun? Shen Ruoyu, why are you interested in those things? Although these things are a little creative, they are basically useless and can't be used. Yang Zhao chuckled and said, people who can be used are not willing to sell them to me. I will buy a few to play with myself. Master, please accompany me to take a look. Shen Ruoyu, okay, I'll go with you. Yang Zhao thanked him repeatedly, ate a bite of food at home, and pushed Shenryu to the prefectural school early for fear of being late. The two of them registered outside and followed the flow of people to an open space. There were already a few tables set up here, and a group of students stood behind them, each with a tense face, probably a little nervous. Slowly, more and more people came to the open space, and the students became more and more nervous. Chapter 74, Meet an Acquaintance Again. There were not many people interested in coming this time, only a few dozen. Yang Zhao glanced casually and actually ran into an acquaintance. Rong, the shopkeeper of Shandifang, was accompanied by a middle-aged man. Yang Zhao thought he looked very familiar, but he could not remember his name. Yang Zhao pointed to the shopkeeper Rong over there to Shenryu. I can still see your old boss. Let's go and say hello. He led Yang Zhao over. Wulian Xianzhen, it is true that life is full of encounters. I didn't expect to meet Shopkeeper Rong here. I hope everything is going well for Shopkeeper Rong. Shopkeeper Rong was also a little surprised to see the two of them coming over. Hello, Master Shen, I greet you. I didn't expect that we would meet so soon. Yesterday, I heard that little girl Yang Mei told me that she met Yang Zhao a few days ago. I didn't expect to meet you two today. Yang Zhao went over to greet Shopkeeper Rong. She had a different feeling for Shandifang. This was her first job and the first place she found after crossing. She spent her most vulnerable period in Shandifang. Moreover, when Fang Shili wanted to kidnap her, it was Shandifang who ensured her safety with all his strength. Yang Zhao had a little bit of a baby bird complex, and it was because of her life-saving grace. If it weren't for Kang Cheng and the Fang family living there, she wouldn't want to leave Shandifang so soon. Shopkeeper Rong was very happy to see Yang Zhao, and introduced the middle-aged man next to her and Shenryu. This is Li Yu, now the worshipper of Huanglangang Shandifang. Yang Zhao has met him once before. He was also there when you went to apply for the job. Shopkeeper Rong turned around and introduced Yang Zhao to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man looked a little embarrassed and bowed to Shenryu. Yang Zhao suddenly had an idea and thought of who he was. This Li Yu was the one who went to apply for the job with her. Yang Zhao was brought by shopkeeper Li Yu of Shunking Dental Clinic, and Li Yu was brought by shopkeeper Huang of another dental clinic. It was just that Li Yu applied for the position of a chief worshipper, but he was not selected in the end, and Yang Zhao successfully joined the company. But seeing the current situation, Li Yu still went to Shandifang after he left. After introducing both parties, Rong, the shopkeeper, politely greeted Shenryu. Master Shen, are you also interested in these children's things? Shenryu turned the silver conch in his hand and replied slowly, I'm not interested. I just brought Yang Zhao here to broaden his horizons and see the world. What is the purpose of Rong, the shopkeeper? Master Shen, you also know that my family runs a weapons workshop. Now that I have just arrived in Huanglangang, I'm in need of everything. Today I came to the Fuxu to get in touch with good seedlings in advance. This is to prepare talents. The two people were chatting here, and Yang Zhao and Li Yu did not dare to interrupt casually. At this time, the beautiful woman with wolf ears stood up and presided over the transaction. My name is Zifeng, the current teacher of Huanglangang Fuxu, in charge of foreign relations. I have met you here. He bowed to everyone. The people around returned the greetings. Everyone has a certain understanding of our Huanglangang Prefecture School. The small items we have selected for sale will have their own merits. Now let these children introduce them to you. The middle-aged beautiful woman's opening remarks were clear and neat. After she finished speaking, she walked away and asked the first candidate to come over to introduce the items. Such pure and unpretentious school leaders are relatively rare. The ones Yang Zhao met were those who held meetings for an hour and gave speeches for half an hour. The first student who came up with a basin. Under the crowd's onlookers, he was so nervous that he stuttered. I know, my student Wang Lei has invented a small magic tool. Put it in the water, it can automatically attract some designated tiny things. Its innovation lies in its very simple production. As he said, he showed the basin in his hand to everyone. Can you specify spiritual objects? Wang Lei shook his head embarrassedly. Are these tiny things you mean minerals or tiny organisms? Wang Lei, this can only attract things without life force. Can you specify a specific thing for it to collect in the water? Can it collect gold and silver? Wang Lei was a little shy. Yes, but it takes too long. I haven't done any experiments yet. I estimate that it will take more than half a year to collect 1 penny of gold. This time cost is too high. The people around asked a few questions in good faith. Yang Zhao also asked a question. Can this magic weapon only be used in water? Yes, I designed it to be used in water at the beginning. I have thought about other things, but I haven't done them yet. Shenroi saw her speak and asked quietly beside her. Do you like this? You don't want to attract gold, do you? This is a bit unreliable. Yang Zhao also responded in a low voice. It's interesting to see this thing. I'm quite interested. Shenroi didn't say anything and continued to read the introduction of the next person. The following few people all had some unexpected things. For example, a girl created a set of water purification instruments, which were much better than the previous small water purification instruments, but the cost of making them was much more expensive. Some students created a small magic formula for finding items. The inspiration came from himself. He often forgot where he put his personal belongings and had to look for them for a while every time. Another student improved a small magic circle for concealment, optimizing the commonly used concealment magic circle on the market, which consumes less spiritual power when used. Shenroi was very satisfied when he heard this spell. He coughed lightly to indicate that Yang Zhao could take this spell. Yang Zhao, Grandmaster, I understand. After each student introduced himself, he would tell everyone his psychological price. Although there were many things, it only took 1 or 2 sentences to introduce them. There were not many people asking questions, and they were all introduced in less than an hour. The middle-aged beautiful woman walked to the front of the stage again. These are some immature ideas of the children. If you are interested, you can buy them to support them. If you feel bored, you can go around the prefectural school next. The students were already waiting in a row, and everyone present was very considerate and did not leave early. Those who were interested would ask questions. Yang Zhao went through them one by one and finally spent 20 taels of silver to pick the basin-shaped magic weapon introduced by the first student, and then spent 18 taels of silver to buy the new water purification magic weapon. Finally, he spent 22 taels of silver to buy the hidden formation. Yang Zhao was the person who bought the most on the field. Others bought one with an attitude of supporting students' inventions and creations. Even shopkeeper Ong, who said he came to see the seedlings, only picked one weapon. Chapter 75. To learn the formation, you need to be good at mathematics. When he came out of the academy, Yang Zhao was holding 2 books on the analysis of magic weapons and 1 on the analysis of formations. The 3 of them wrote these analyses very carefully, and the parameters in them were very complete. They were all her promises, and she could find them at any time if she had any questions. Shenroi saw that Yang Zhao was very happy and was a little confused, but she didn't ask much. This time Miss Ruojuan has completed the exam. What are your plans? Yang Zhao, I can only practice honestly and not get beaten first. Shenroi, have you thought clearly about what you want to learn? Weapons? Yang Zhao, gun, and learn bows and arrows when you have time. Shenroi pondered for a while. If you want to learn guns, you can do it in our yard. To learn bows and arrows, you have to find a special venue, and you have to buy weapons and bows and arrows. Now it was getting dark, and the sunset was in the sky. Yang Zhao, okay, I'll buy them tomorrow. The 2 returned to the rented courtyard. Yang Zhao edited the video and uploaded it first, and found that his fans had increased by more than 10,000. It seems that the control over him over there has really been a lot loosened. There was a boom in the comments area. Looking at the huge crowd, I thought it was a rural New Year's fair. Just look at the text the blogger wrote. It sounds like the rhythm of the college entrance examination. Auntie, kill me, my god. Are the ears on her head wolf or dog? Where did the aunt come from? That's my sister. So rude. You can't tell which ears they are. Mortals like me have poor eyesight. Wolf ears. Obviously they are dog ears. What dog ears? So ugly. People in the comment section can't grasp the main point. Is the main point where the filming location is? To find so many extras, this blogger has spent a lot of money. It is definitely a rare big production on the internet. Extras can be photoshopped. Maybe there are only dozens of people. Hengdian, Zongshan, Yang Zhao? I don't think any of them are. Its architectural style is very different from my common sense. Are there any architecture majors? Come out and recognize it. With so many extras participating, the scene must be very lively. In a few days, netizens with great magical powers will dig out the location. If the location can't be dug out, I will go to practice immortality with the blogger. Friends above, please join our Immortal Cultivator Alliance. If interested, please chat privately. Am I the only one who feels scared? What the hell is the Immortal Cultivator Alliance? Questions group or WeChat group? Yang Zhao had to personally intervene and pin a comment. Please download the anti-fraud app, and please do not transfer money to strangers. When she came out, the small wooden block was ready. Shenroi moved a chair and sat next to her. Today's wooden block will not speed up. You should try to pinch your fingers and chant spells while dodging the wooden block. Choose a familiar one. Familiar? She was most familiar with the Zhaoming spell, which was simple in action and took a long time to practice. Although it was just one requirement, it still made Yang Zhao, who was already accustomed to the original rhythm, suffer. Don't pay attention to your feet. You are already very familiar with the 8 diagrams and 7 star steps. Focus your attention on your hands. Use your spiritual power. You are casting a spell. What are you doing? If you don't use your spiritual power, the movements of pinching the seals must be standard. Even if it hurts, you have to bear it. Speed up the movements of your hands. I told you to speed up, but I didn't ask you to change your movements. Yang Zhao grimaced in pain again. After a training session, she didn't succeed in casting a single spell. Shenroi smiled and called her over. What have you learned from this session? The important thing this time is to cast a spell and fight against your body's instinctive reaction to pain. Shenroi, there is some truth, but it is not comprehensive. What I'm telling you today is to make choices. If the block of wood is heading for your vital point, you will naturally dodge the block first. If it can't hurt you much, then you will naturally avoid the heavy and cast a spell to counterattack. You will defeat the enemy and the danger will be lifted. Yang Zhao thanked the master for his teachings. Supporting his bruised body, he continued to practice the 3 pure ones and the true Yang Meridian. If it weren't for this cultivation technique, she might not be able to sleep because of the pain. The next morning, Yang Zhao went to find Miss Ruojian. Students after the college entrance examination are always so energetic. Miss Ruojian was in a good mood. She asked her to sit down and then took out a stack of arithmetic test papers from the prefectural school. Sir, do you think I did well on these? Yang Zhao took the test paper, asked for paper and ink, and carefully revised the test paper. There were hundreds of questions on this test paper, and Yang Zhao spent nearly 2 hours to revise the whole test paper. Fortunately, Miss Ruojian was a cautious and careful person. She didn't lose any points on the basic questions, but her foundation was still a little weak, and she made 3 mistakes in the comprehensive questions. Miss Ruojian was very happy after reading the corrected test paper. Then Yang Zhao explained the big questions to her in detail again. I feel that I did well in the test this time. I didn't expect it to be true. Ruojian would like to thank you for your cultivation these days. After speaking, she stood up and bowed. Yang Zhao hurriedly stood up to return the greeting. This is mostly due to Mrs. Intelligence and has nothing to do with me. Sir, don't be too modest. I know what level I was at in the past. Nanny Wang, bring me your monthly allowance for these days. Nanny Wang handed a purse to Yang Zhao with both hands. As soon as she weighed the purse, she knew that the silver inside exceeded the stipulated monthly allowance, at least more than 30 taels. Miss Ruojian, this silver is a bit too much. Not much, it's all earned by your hard work. You don't have to refuse it. If I accidentally fail this time, you will have to teach me mathematics in the future. Yang Zhao pretended to be sad and sighed. Miss, you are naturally smart. How could you fail? It seems that I won't get the monthly allowance in the future. The ladies and maids in the room were all amused by her and laughed, and even Nanny Wang couldn't help laughing. I didn't expect that the master would have such a mischievous side. so I shamelessly borrowed the master's good words. Before leaving, Yang Zhao remembered something and asked, Miss Ruojian, I don't think I have asked you what you want to study at the prefectural school? Miss Ruojian smiled and said, of course it's formations, otherwise I wouldn't spend half of my time every day on arithmetic. Formations have the highest requirements for arithmetic, the best of all subjects. It seems that she really likes formations. That's right, when she was on the Falling Star Island, Miss Ruojian said she was going to watch the meteor shower, but she was thinking about the giant formation on the island. As Yang Zhao walked out, he thought to himself, so you need to be good at math to study formations. It seems that formations are not suitable for me. She is not good at math and has no interest in it. Formations should be easy to promote in China. After all, computers can replace a lot of manpower and save a lot of trouble. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.